Jiang Chengxuan's pointed question sent shockwaves through all the cultivators present, leaving them deeply shaken, their expressions complex. Before the disaster fully struck, who among them could truly say they were ready to give their all? Most sects still expected the major sects to handle the crisis, hoping to merely follow along and protect themselves. Fellow Taoist Jiang is right, Lord Pantheon spoke up gravely. This great calamity is extraordinary. If anyone here is not prepared to fight with everything they have, then our so-called alliance is nothing but loose sand. Lord Pantheon was fully aware of the dire nature of the calamity, understanding the sinister forces behind these mysterious disappearances. A demonic immortal from the immortal realm had infiltrated the lower realm. Having experienced the terror of an immortal being during the collapse of an immortal cave abode, even he felt uneasy. Thus, Jiang Chengxuan, who had safely returned from the immortal cave abode, was now the focus of their expectations. They sensed that he had gained some formidable power from the immortal cave abode, possibly even an ancient immortal's legacy. Naturally, they agreed to nominate Jiang Chengxuan as their spokesperson. After a fierce internal struggle, the various sect leaders made up their minds. Standing up solemnly, they said, "Master Jiang, we, the Clear Moon sect, understand and will spare no effort in overcoming this calamity. My Wu Xin sect will also follow Master Jiang's lead from now on. My Wind and Cloud sect will obey Master Jiang's commands to survive this cataclysm." One by one, the sects made their pledges or chose to follow, signaling their willingness to have the Haoran sect lead them through this calamity. This sudden surge of pledges caught even Jiang Chengxuan by surprise. Initially, he had merely wanted to boost morale and encourage transparency, not expecting to be propelled into a leadership role. Shen Feng glanced at Lord Pantheon, who nodded back, encouraging him. This shift was largely driven by Lord Pantheon's initial acknowledgement of Jiang Chengxuan's Mahayana achievement, which had significantly bolstered Haoran sect's prestige. Then, by agreeing with Jiang Chengxuan's speech and signaling Pantheon sect's support for Haoran sect, he had guided the others' judgments. Command is too strong a word, but my Haoran sect will do everything within our power to lead us through this calamity, Jiang Chengxuan said, acknowledging the gravity of the situation, knowing that managing it would require everyone's cooperation. Seeing Jiang accept the role without shirking made the other leaders visibly relieved. Haoran sect's profound sense of duty is noted by us all. Master Jiang, if you have any commands, just say the word. The fate of the floodgate realm rests on you now. Once Jiang Chengxuan responded, the assembly eagerly seized the moment to express their reliance on him. The pressure was immense, but Jiang Chengxuan remained composed. After a tense wait, he finally spoke, detailing his long-considered plan. Since there are no clues about the disappearances, we have no choice but to defy fate and uncover them ourselves. We will set up the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, led by me, pooling all the cultivators skilled in divination from across Floodgate Realm. This announcement sent another shock through the crowd. The mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, a legendary array, might be unknown to some, but its requirement for the collaboration of all divination experts in Floodgate Realm spoke volumes of its power. Those who recognized the name of the array were visibly shocked. The mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, is it not the most powerful divination array in Floodgate Realm legends? It is said that thousands of years ago, someone used this array to divine matters of the immortal realm, which inadvertently triggered a major calamity. Some ancient sect leaders slowly revealed these secrets. The array's ability to divine immortal matters using the power of the lower realms illustrated its terrifying potential. To lead such an array, one must have profound knowledge of karma. Otherwise, it could lead to annihilation by the heavens, completely destroying one's soul. Throughout Floodgate Realm's history, only 2 people have successfully completed this array. Despite its power, the array did not excite the crowd. Instead, it raised concerns among them. Being a Daelord was incredibly powerful, but divination was not necessarily linked to strength. Even the strongest cultivator, unfamiliar with the forces of karma, would be like a child in matters of divination. However, faced with skepticism, Jiang Chengxuan remained firm. I am more familiar with this array than anyone here, and I am confident I can manage it. If you doubt it, consider the vast resources required to set up the array. If we can't gather them, all this talk is futile. I do not wish to coerce anyone. The choice is yours to make. This assertive tone reignited discussions among the sect leaders, each reflecting on Jiang Chengxuan's strong stance, struggling to grasp the situation. I from Pantheon sect am willing to contribute both manpower and resources to set up the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, declared Deadliest Pantheon, once again endorsing Jiang Chengxuan, his voice resonating like a great bell across the summit. Thunderclap Valley, too, will participate in setting up the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, with Haoran sect leading the effort, announced Shen Ruyan, adding her support which solidified the commitment from her sect. I from the Wu Xin sect agree to set up the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate. I represent the divine shadow gate and agree with sect master Jiang's proposal. I from the Icy Heart sect agree to Jiang sect master's arrangement of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate. Under the awe inspired by Deadliest Pantheon and Shen Ruyan, a silence first fell over the summit of Wuying Mountain. Soon after, one voice after another began to express their agreement. Eventually, even those sects that harbored concerns had no choice but to join the consensus. Jiang Chengxuan's proposal to set up the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate had won unanimous approval from the sects present. This moment could be said to be the most unified that Floodgate Realm had been in hundreds of years, all thanks to Jiang Chengxuan's prestige or perhaps his charismatic leadership. Excellent, on behalf of all beings in Floodgate Realm, I thank you all for your righteousness. I, Jiang Chengxuan, will commit myself fully to this cause. It was only then that Jiang Chengxuan finally breathed a sigh of relief, his face breaking into a warm smile. He knew that his trip here was worthwhile as the troubling issue of the celestial calamity that had plagued him for so long was finally seeing a turnaround. After gaining absolute authority in the discussion, Jiang Chengxuan streamlined the meeting. The details for setting up the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate were quickly distributed among the sects, who was responsible for what resources, and which sect had experts skilled in divination, were all meticulously organized. The location for setting up the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate was ultimately decided to be within the Haoran sect. Naturally, no other sects objected, as there was arguably no safer place in Floodgate Realm than the Haoran sect, the only sect guarded by 3 Daelords. As everyone began to relax with the progressive implementation of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, in a certain part of Floodgate Realm within a barrier, a tremendous horror was quietly brewing. Dark and crimson malevolent energies swirled and churned continuously, transforming the area into a realm devoid of Floodgate Realm's essence. Both Tao principles and spiritual power were morphed into an existence akin to that of the demonic abyss. Amidst the thick, lava-like malevolent energy, indistinct figures could be seen bathing within, motionless and lifeless like statues, completely filling this hellish scene. If anyone from Floodgate Realm were there, they would recognize that the mysteriously vanished sects and their disciples were all present here. However, at this moment, these disciples had all been turned into puppets. Their bodies still fluctuated with Tao principles and power, but these were utterly malevolent, clearly having been transformed into something demonic. In this place, the 6 vanished supersects of Floodgate Realm had transformed into tens of thousands of puppet disciples. Such a force was terrifyingly formidable within the Floodgate Realm. What kind of being could create such a horrific spectacle? Just then in this demonic realm, a sinister, chilling laughter suddenly echoed, unending and pervasive. Instantly, numerous demonic shadows appeared, flitting between the rows of disciple puppets. Their appearances were bizarre and foreboding, and an overwhelming aura of supreme horror radiated from them. As these demonic shadows passed by the puppets, they would lean in close, inhaling deeply through their nostrils as if savoring something, and with that, invisible screams of agony echoed through the void. Wait a little longer, just a little longer. Once I loosen the barriers of this realm completely, the time for my true form to descend will come. In this realm of demons, a voice filled with eager anticipation rose, utterly eerie, as if it belonged to neither man, beast, ghost, nor demon, echoing the dread akin to that of a legendary demon from tales of old. Time passed swiftly, and in the blink of an eye, decades had elapsed. Throughout these years, the tense atmosphere in Floodgate Realm remained unrelieved. However, amid this tension, there was no despair. Instead, each sect was busy preparing for the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate with hopeful anticipation. Finally, on a cloudless day, processions of disciples from various sects appeared at the foot of Haoran sect's cloud mist peak. Numerous disciples of Haoran sect watched from a distance, unclear about the purpose of this large assembly, but sensing from their demeanor the significance of their sect in these proceedings. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience." Top cloud mist peak. A voice resounded, followed by the figures everyone had been waiting for emerging slowly from the misty clouds. Naturally, it was Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruoyan. Looking down at the groups of disciples from various sects dressed in colorful robes below cloud mist peak, they also felt a sense of nervous anticipation. "Master Jiang, long time no see." "Master Jiang, we have prepared all the necessary resources, ready to set up the formation." As they landed, numerous sect leaders greeted them respectfully, their voices filled with deference. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruoyan returned the greetings without any display of arrogance. "Let's not delay any further. Follow me to the site of the formation." Without much further ado, Jiang Chengxuan led all the sect representatives towards the interior of the Haoran sect. Along the way, the visiting sect disciples exchanged looks with the Haoran sect disciples around them, each with their thoughts and emotions. The disciples of the Haoran sect felt both curious and proud, while the visiting sect leaders were inevitably struck by the strength of Haoran sect. Soon, under Jiang Chengxuan's guidance, they arrived at a vast ceremonial ground that he had prepared for setting up the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate. The ground itself was infused with many of Jiang Chengxuan's arrangements and contingencies, and the sect representatives stepping into it felt an extraordinary resonance with the universe, as if their powers were amplified 100-fold just by being there. Especially those from various corners of Floodgate realm skilled in divination, they felt this most acutely. The place held a deep understanding of the laws of causality. After experiencing this, even those who were initially skeptical about the arrangement were now completely convinced and filled with admiration. Whoever had set up this place, their mastery over the art of divination must have reached a nearly inhuman level. Just the preliminary setup alone was enough to demonstrate such profound knowledge of divination that it surpassed their understanding. Truly terrifying, the master of Haoran sect. In Haoran sect, where the array was being set up, figures gathered densely. At this moment, all the top powers of Floodgate realm had converged at this spot. The cultivators sent by countless sects who could make it here were all at least at Tao integration. In Jiang Chengxuan's perception, this ceremonial ground was teeming with no less than a few hundred cultivators at Tao integration. This assembly of power was formidable, their actions closely tied to the fate of the entire Floodgate realm. "Master Jiang, I am Xianxia, and behind me are those of Floodgate realm who are versed in the art of divination, awaiting your orders." An elder with an aura of a Taoist suddenly approached Jiang Chengxuan, speaking kindly. His introduction immediately drew many side glances within the ceremonial ground. Isn't that Xianxia, known as one who calculates under the heavens? Even he chose to join. That person behind him, isn't that Saint Tao Interceptor? Even he has come here. These old folks, usually so aloof, why are they so polite today? For a time, numerous cultivators whispered among themselves, pointing at the group in front of Jiang Chengxuan. "Fellow Taoists, a pleasure to meet you all." Jiang Chengxuan responded without inferiority or arrogance, equally amicable in his reply. His gaze met with that of the group of cultivators. A movement of divination was subtly initiated between them. This was a greeting among those skilled in divination. They each carried unique karmic powers which were now slightly revealed, conveying much information. In Jiang Chengxuan's perception, these individuals could muster the divination power of around 4th or 5th level of heavenly calculation technique, with the strongest few, like Xianxia, nearly approaching the 6th level. Under normal circumstances, the 6th level of the heavenly calculation technique was considered the limit of this realm. As for his current 7th level strength, it already belonged to a transcendent force beyond this realm. To Xianxia and the others, Jiang Chengxuan's divination power, though barely revealed, was enough to suppress many among them. Even Xianxia could only grasp the tip of the iceberg of his power. This naturally instilled a profound sense of awe among them. Only now did they realize that this young Daelord of the current Floodgate realm also possessed the premier divination skills of their world. It was probable that this array site was his work. Master Jiang, truly a formidable younger generation. After interacting with Jiang Chengxuan, Xianxia expressed his shock. To this, Jiang Chengxuan merely smiled, then assigned tasks to them all. Following this, Jiang Chengxuan, accompanied by Shen Ruoyan, approached other sects' cultivators, distributing parts of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate to them, and communicated the necessary tasks for setting up the array. This process alone took many days and nights, because of the complexity and intricacy required in setting up the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate. A simple explanation of the array requirements might lead to minor deviations that could cause significant errors. Jiang Chengxuan's approach was not only about dividing the array, but also considering every detail and thoroughly explaining these to others. From that day on, this array site became a silent battlefield for many high-ranking cultivators. Pillars rose from the ground, reaching into the skies, casting vast shadows. The sect cultivators, each holding the necessary resources for the array, carefully carved the array's intricate patterns. Even though they were cultivators at Tao integration, the process was mentally exhausting. The complexity of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, just to retain a portion of it in memory and repeatedly calculate it, rapidly drained their spiritual essence. Imagine then what kind of methods Jiang Chengxuan must have used to divide it originally. It was nothing short of miraculous and terrifying. As time passed, the reverence for Jiang Chengxuan among these cultivators grew. Quickly, 100 years passed in silence. At this moment, the site within the Haoran sect designated for the array was shrouded in mist, with layers of celestial mechanisms covering it, making it difficult to discern the details. From afar, it looked like an indescribable stairway to heaven, immensely majestic. However, this power was still far from sufficient to divine matters of the celestial realm. The mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate took a full 100 years just for these top cultivators of Floodgate realm to carve out a basic form. Setting up this array took much longer than anticipated. As the high-ranking cultivators tirelessly arranged and divined day after day, time lost all meaning. In the blink of an eye, 200 years passed, and the array of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate reached a pivotal stage. To outsiders, the Haoran sect's array site seemed to have completely vanished, as if it had transcended this realm and moved to another plane of existence. Those within the array felt something similar. The mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, over 200 years, finally began to exhibit the power to divine, influencing the array itself, which now generated a miniature world. This world, formed of divinatory forces, was incredibly ethereal yet, through the control of the array, could peer into the realms of reality. At this moment, sitting at the core of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, even Jiang Chengxuan, with his profound divinatory powers, could not shield himself from its influence. This was confirmation that the array had been set up correctly. He communicated this news to all the sects involved, and those who had been tirelessly working on the array for a century finally saw a glimmer of hope. Although arrangements were made for people to rotate out, the mental strain of continuously working on the array for 100 years had left them nearly spent. Before long, the time from the start of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate's setup stretched into several hundred years. One day within the Haoran sect, a tremendously mysterious force suddenly erupted, shooting straight up and shaking the very boundaries of Floodgate realm. The entire world felt it tremble. In an instant, every cultivator within Floodgate realm sensed a vague presence, as if something new was observing everyone. It's done. Only those Daelords sitting in various sects understood what this terrifying force signified. The mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate was complete. With the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate completed, the very essence of heaven and earth stirred, and instantly, countless sects were made aware of this transformation and rejoiced greatly. Those within the Haoran sect felt this even more intensely. Suddenly, their spiritual senses amplified, their awareness of the cosmos expanded manifold. It seemed as if the entire Floodgate realm lay flat before them, and with the completion of the array, the Haoran sect alone had risen above the clouds, overlooking all. Inside the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, however, the mood was not as jubilant as one might expect. Countless high-level cultivators were exhausted, sitting on the ground, frantically regulating their breath and circulating their meridians. The activation of the array had shaken them deeply, but thankfully, Jiang Chengxuan intervened timely to protect everyone, preventing a disaster. They hadn't anticipated that the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate would be so formidable that its activation would cause such a disturbance. After some time, as everyone gradually recovered, a wave of jubilation burst forth within the array. To think that in my lifetime I would witness such a profound array, I am truly content to die now. Among them, Xianxia, known for his prowess in divination, felt the array's power and was moved to tears. Other cultivators skilled in divination showed similar emotions: shock, transcendence, tears, all reflecting their inner excitement. Only they could truly comprehend the significance of this array. Many other cultivators were merely happy that there was now a way to address the cosmic calamity. Fellow Taoists, we should not delay any further. We must activate the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate now to avoid any complications. Jiang Chengxuan stood from the center of the array, his gaze solemn. Awakening from their reverie, everyone agreed, understanding that the true challenge was just beginning. Although the array was set up, if they couldn't activate it, its immense potential would be wasted. Very well, from now on everything depends on Master Jiang, they declared. Thank you, Master Jiang. The fate of the floodgate realm is now in your hands. With no more doubts about Jiang Chengxuan's ability to activate the array, one after another, the sect leaders bowed to him in support. With a nod, Jiang Chengxuan replied gravely, I will do my utmost. The atmosphere tensed as everyone prepared to engage fully. As creators and components of the array, their involvement was crucial. Master Jiang, only you can command this array. I believe in you, Xianxia said earnestly, his eyes resolute as he took his place within the array. The mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate quieted down, with hundreds of high-level cultivators standing in position, surrounding Jiang Chengxuan at the core. After exchanging a look with Shen Royan, Jiang Chengxuan hesitated no longer. He roared lowly, unleashing all his power. Wave after wave of formidable divinatory energy burst forth from him, forcibly infused into the vast mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, causing ripples of invisible force. Instantly, as if taking their cue, all the cultivators unleashed their power, sending thousands of beams of light shooting up to meet in the mystically complex array. Runes lit up, spreading from hundreds to thousands, from thousands to tens of thousands, endlessly extending. Standing at the heart of the array, Jiang Chengxuan initiated the full operation of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate. Each rune within this world of divination activated, beginning to spin. Next, the array flared brightly again, and a terrifying force of divination permeated floodgate realm. All veils of destiny were swept aside in this moment, rendered invisible under the might of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate. Outside the Haoran sect at the array's site, figures like Qin Shenwu, Daelord Pantheon and Daelord Divine Shadow, all beings of great power, had arrived. To guard against any accidents, they had come to oversee the area. Even faced with the power of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, they couldn't help but feel a sense of insignificance, awed by its magnitude. In that moment, the mists of mystery cleared, and all secrets seemed laid bare. All past and future causes and effects, through the power of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, flooded into Jiang Chengxuan's mind. In this realm shaped by the array, where time and space began to warp, even Daelords felt a sense of ethereal unreality. This was the impact of the power of karma. If the cosmic causes and effects were confused, everything would return to primordial chaos. Yet it was in this muddled state that Jiang Chengxuan was able to glimpse the deepest mysteries. Now I see it. Amidst this state of cosmic confusion, Jiang Chengxuan sensed a critical insight and immediately directed all his divinatory power towards that segment of destiny within the array. With the aid of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, all barriers were shattered, and in the next moment, images began to flood Jiang Chengxuan's mind, as well as those of the other Daelords present. The images that appeared were shocking, displaying a world steeped in dark red and black chaos, where malevolent and sinister forces churned like lava. Immense demonic shadows roamed this realm. Their presence is so formidable that even the Daelords felt a chill. Yet what was most terrifying was not just this. In this realm of demonic energy, they all recognized faces familiar yet unfamiliar, faces of cultivators from the vanished sects. These cultivators stood lifeless, their bodies saturated with deathly and demonic energies, enduring endless torment in this abyssal hellscape, converted into puppets of evil. Boom! Just then, a dark spot appeared in the sky, rapidly expanding into a profound expanse of darkness that spread across the entire sky above the Haoran sect, right at the heart of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate. Within the darkness, crimson lightning flashed terrifyingly, thunderclaps sounding like the sky was collapsing. The sudden storm was so intense that even Daelords assembled felt an immense pressure bearing down on them. Boom! The next moment, a crimson beam tore through the world, piercing the heavens and earth, engulfing everything within the Haoran sect in a blood-red light. This was the crimson lightning from the profound darkness, immensely domineering, severing the heavens and earth. Some of the less experienced disciples of the Haoran sect couldn't even open their eyes amidst this. What's happening? Could it be that the sect master is ascending? Such a terrifying aura, could it be the great calamity of heaven and earth? All disciples quickly take cover. For a time, the Haoran sect was plunged into panic, but under the command of the elders, the disciples quickly and orderly took shelter. And under this terrifying scene, that crimson light finally struck somewhere in the void, instantly breaking through layers of cosmic concealment and entering the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate. In that instant, everyone within the array felt the breath of death, as the crimson lightning transcended all laws and was indescribable. Only Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, being Daelords, knew that the power within this crimson divine thunder came from the will of the world. Boom, boom! The next moment, the crimson divine thunder struck the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, and a tremendously fierce storm of energy erupted from the void. The mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, an array close to the immortal class, began to collapse instantly under this strike. Everyone present in their horror were heartbroken as they watched. But then, a vast torrent of energy completely erupted, blasting everyone into the void in an instant. Inside the Haoran sect, Qin Shenwu and others only saw a pillar of light flash across the sky, then the void shattered inch by inch, and a terrifying energy storm squeezed out from the broken void. In just a blink of an eye, a storm as high as the cloud mist peak appeared before everyone, shockingly huge. Not good, the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate has broken. Take action to suppress it. Seeing this, Qin Shenwu shouted explosively, with the 5 elements Tao rule manifesting behind him. He bravely took action to suppress one side of heaven and earth. Hearing this, Daelord Pantheon and others also reacted in an extremely short time, each manifesting their own power of the great Tao and suppressing the increasingly fierce crimson storm. In an instant, several Daelords manifested their Tao rule, covering the Haoran sect with various phenomena, filling all with an immensely vast aura, as if the birth of a universe. Boom, boom! 2 incredibly powerful forces collided, instantly creating a vast expanse of void, making everyone present feel as if the world was ending. Fortunately, the target of this crimson divine thunder was not the cultivators here, but the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate itself. After destroying the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, the dark skies no longer erupted with another wave of attacks. The destructive aftermath, under the joint efforts of the Daelords, was also eventually exhausted of energy and dissipated into nothingness. And Jiang Chengxuan and others, who were blasted out of the void by the destruction of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, also timely took action to save themselves, and no one died in this disaster. Still, the feeling of a close shave was inescapable in everyone's hearts. Jiang Chengxuan and Qin Shenwu, along with other Daelords, looked solemnly at the dark skies, sensing that the power there had not yet dissipated. The will of the world lingered under the dark curtain, still watching everything here. It seemed that the domineering divination of the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate truly angered it, making it determined to annihilate it completely. Such forceful divination had surpassed the limits allowed by the will of the world, constituting a leakage of heavenly secrets, thus inevitably leading to divine retribution. Thus, in this tense atmosphere, everyone made great efforts to conceal their own qi, not daring to think of the images divined earlier. Yet despite this, the chilling sensation at the bottom of their hearts became increasingly clear. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly unleashed his power, employing the heavenly calculation technique, and gathered the remnants of power left at the moment of the array's fragmentation. Following that, a vague human figure slowly appeared in front of him, emitting a chaotic aura of karma. The next moment, Jiang Chengxuan, with a solemn wave of his hand, sent this figure of heavenly calculation technique power directly into the dark skies. Instantly, the earth trembled fiercely, and an extremely strange and domineering wave spread across the entire floodgate realm. But ultimately, after this strike, the dark skies quickly shrank into a singularity and then completely vanished. Phew! Only then did everyone breathe a sigh of relief, letting go of the heavy stone in their hearts. They all looked towards Jiang Chengxuan with reverence and gratitude, knowing that it was his actions that resolved this crisis. Such manipulation of heavenly secrets is truly akin to seizing the creation of heaven and earth. Sect Master Jiang, I am truly in awe, exclaimed Chuanji, not sparing any praise. Jiang Chengxuan merely smiled in response, neither denying nor confirming the accolades. It's a pity that the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, which took hundreds of years to build, was destroyed just like that. Someone among the cultivators lamented. The collective effort of all the sects in the floodgate realm had been extravagantly expended in just one use. Although the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate is destroyed, we still manage to divine the crucial information, Jiang Chengxuan said with a light chuckle, seemingly unconcerned about the array's destruction. However, his words fell, and the people around him couldn't bring themselves to laugh. Everyone's mind inevitably recalled the terrifying scenes displayed by the heavenly divination, a chill forming in the depths of their souls. Though they had anticipated that the root cause of all these events was likely that legendary demon immortal, the formidable power they witnessed still far exceeded their expectations. If the cultivators from those super sects were all turned into demonic puppets, that would indeed constitute a terrifying force, murmured Daelord Pantheon, his expression grave. Moreover, there was still the unresolved question of how those sects were abducted. If such incidents were to recur, it would mean that they would have to face many more such formidable foes. Since we now have the information, we must take the initiative to strike. We cannot sit idly by, Jiang Chengxuan proposed slowly. Knowing there was a demon den within the floodgate realm, they had to destroy it to dampen the enemy's morale. But from the divined images, there was no information on how to pinpoint its location. What should we do about this? Posed a new challenge in front of everyone. The floodgate realm is so vast and expansive that a single demon den would be no larger than a secret realm. To attempt a search and forcefully locate it would take an eternity, during which many sects might face persecution. Clearly, solving this problem through brute force was not feasible. As everyone was at a loss, a figure among the assembled cultivators slowly stepped forward and spoke. I might have some information about the location of the demon den that could be worth trying. Upon hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan and the others showed expressions of delighted curiosity and turned to look at him. If such a coincidence were true, then indeed the heavens had not abandoned the floodgate realm. You are Hebo Dong from the Eastern Sea sect. If you have any findings, please speak quickly. Someone in the group immediately recognized the speaker and urged him eagerly. Hebo Dong, with a somber expression, slowly said, Our sect has been rooted in the Eastern Sea for tens of thousands of years. Our practice techniques and cultivated paths also stem from the Eastern Sea. I have no concrete evidence for this assertion, but when I saw the scene depicted during the divination, I felt a strong intuition. It told me that the place is at a corner of the Eastern Sea. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Hebo Dong gave a mysterious explanation. This plunged Jiang Chengxuan and the others into deep thought, knowing well that as cultivators, such intuitions often represented a kind of divine will. This means that the great calamity will likely arise from the Eastern Sea, declared the Daelord from the Divine Shadow sect decisively. Upon hearing this, all the cultivators present nodded slightly in agreement. Only Jiang Chengxuan felt differently. An inexplicable and uneasy intuition arose in his heart, seeming both like a warning and a cause for concern. If that's the case, we must not delay and should head to the Eastern Sea immediately, suggested another cultivator decisively. But Hebo Dong stood up again and said, The bottom of the Eastern Sea is unfathomably deep, guarded by an ancient barrier that has existed for tens of thousands of years. It might be difficult to search there. This remark astonished many present, as it was their first time hearing such information. However, other cultivators from sects near the Eastern Sea also spoke up, confirming the accuracy of this news. Indeed, the existence of this ancient barrier in the Eastern Sea was well known among them, though no one knew what lay behind it. The atmosphere once again became tense, with no easy resolution in sight, and Jiang Chengxuan, still grappling with his own uneasy intuition, remained silent. In my view, we must break through this ancient barrier to search within. The likelihood that the demon den is there is quite high. Even if there's something behind the barrier, could it be worse than sitting by and watching the demon cultivators grow stronger? Said the uncompromising Daelord from the Infinite Sect, his tone utterly ruthless. Immediately, some forces within the Eastern Sea region expressed their opposition, as any upheaval in the Eastern Sea would first impact their sects. Facing their doubts, the strong-willed Daelord Infinite was not inclined to back down, and other Daelords, motivated by various strategic considerations, did not speak out to stop him. As the scene threatened to descend into chaos, many cultivators turned their gazes to Jiang Chengxuan, hoping he would take control. Only Jiang Chengxuan had enough authority to make a decisive judgment for everyone present. As the debate gradually subsided, they realized that arguing was pointless. Only Jiang Chengxuan's word could make a final decision. At that moment, all the cultivators turned their eyes towards Jiang Chengxuan. Finally, after a long silence, Jiang Chengxuan slowly spoke, issuing his verdict. "This is unwise. The Eastern Sea barrier should not be disturbed lightly." This statement immediately brought relief to the cultivators from the Eastern Sea sects, while the Daelord Infinite's expression subtly shifted, though he refrained from further comment. Everyone knew Jiang Chengxuan had more to say and waited for his explanation. "What if I suggested that breaking the Eastern Sea barrier is exactly what the demon cultivators intends for us to do? How would you all feel about that?" Jiang Chengxuan's words caused all present to be profoundly shocked. Everyone's minds churned with tumultuous thoughts at his statement. If what Jiang Chengxuan proposed was true, then the demon cultivators was alarmingly formidable. Could it be that even their ability to divine the location of the demon den was part of the demon cultivators' calculations? But upon further reflection, this scenario was indeed highly plausible. As leading figures in the cultivation world, those present understood the depths of cunning and malice that could exist. Moreover, with the wisdom and methods of demon cultivators, orchestrating such schemes would hardly be difficult. Seeing that everyone was thoroughly stunned, Jiang Chengxuan continued without pause. To forcibly enter the Eastern Sea would be to tread a path of no return, a venture far too perilous. The matters tied to the ancient barrier might well be beyond our expectations. At this point, the cultivators, having regained their senses, began to nod slowly in agreement with Jiang Chengxuan's decision. Only Daelord Infinite spoke up again, his voice slow but steady. "Are we to just watch as the demon den continues to grow within the floodgate realm?" Jiang Chengxuan responded with a confident smile, saying assuredly, "Not at all. While we cannot breach the Eastern Sea barrier, we still have another target that we can strike." This statement once again piqued the curiosity and anticipation of the cultivators present. "Could it be that you mean?" murmured Daelord Pantheon, his eyes lighting up as he began to grasp Jiang Chengxuan's plan. "That's correct," Jiang Chengxuan affirmed. "Our first target should indeed be the alliance of the demon sects." His plan struck like thunder, deeply resonating with the cultivators around him. Everyone's expressions turned serious as they began to consider all the implications of his words. Indeed, Jiang Chengxuan's strategy of cutting the enemy's support was a maneuver that had proven effective time and again. After repeated strategizing, enlightenment dawned in the eyes of the sect leaders. Clearly, Jiang Chengxuan's suggestion had once again revealed a promising path forward. However, not everyone could understand Jiang Chengxuan's decision. Immediately, some high-level figures from other sects stepped forward to object, saying, "Shouldn't the most pressing issue be the demon den? What kind of storm can a mere demon sect stir up? This is putting the cart before the horse." However, most people present ignored this statement. Jiang Chengxuan continued calmly, "Why don't you consider why the demon immortal, with his heaven-reaching abilities, can make super sects disappear overnight with such power, yet chooses to remain hidden?" His detailed guidance led some initially puzzled cultivators to start pondering. "Does this mean the demon immortal isn't as terrifying as we thought?" someone proposed. Jiang Chengxuan slightly nodded in agreement, affirming the suggestion. "It indicates that there are still things in the floodgate realm that he fears, things that, with his current abilities, he may not yet be able to confront directly. Although his methods are indeed terrifying from the perspective of a demon immortal, they seem somewhat redundant. At least, he can't forcefully break the barrier beneath the Eastern Sea, hence, he needs our help." This explanation finally enlightened all the high-level leaders present, who now understood Jiang Chengxuan's reasoning. His bold yet meticulous deduction, based merely on a single scene, was compelling enough to convince anyone. This realization made some cultivators sigh silently, lamenting the vast differences between individuals, greater even than between humans and dogs. Those who had initially objected now fell silent under the weight of Jiang Chengxuan's logic. "It seems everyone agrees with my assessment," Jiang Chengxuan slowly continued. He knew that while his deductions were persuasive, they lacked key evidence to cement the decision. After all, guessing the mind of a demon immortal was nothing more than speculation without proof. By the way, has anyone noticed any unusual activities by the demon sects over the past few centuries? His question once again raised the alertness of all cultivators present. Odd behaviors are normal for members of the demon sects. If they were acting compliantly, that would surely indicate ulterior motives, a cultivator familiar with the demon sects remarked. This statement hit exactly on what Jiang Chengxuan wanted to demonstrate next. Exactly, hundreds of years ago, numerous secret realms emerged, filled with countless treasures, yet rarely did we see members of the demon sects competing for them. With the typically aggressive nature of the demon sects, such compliant behavior must indicate something fishy, was the unanimous consensus. The demon sects, known for their ruthless and unscrupulous methods in seizing opportunities, were never surprised by such actions. But for them to suddenly become disciplined and not greedy for others' treasures was indeed like a dream, an absurd one at that. Greed was, after all, the core principle of the demon sects. "I am completely convinced by Master Jiang's deductions," said another cultivator, admiringly. As Master Jiang said, attacking the demon sects is indeed the right choice at this moment. With Jiang Chengxuan's analysis out, no one else in the room could object. The previously unconvinced cultivators now showed their respect with a formal bow. "It seems that everyone now agrees with Jiang's proposal," commented Deadliest Pantheon with a smile. He was impressed not only by Jiang Chengxuan's decisive strategy, but also by his profound insight into the demon immortal's schemes. To dare to analyze and judge the plans of an immortal being so confidently, despite being at the Mahayana realm himself, showed an extraordinary state of mind. After all, immortals are beings that loom over all others, viewing the inhabitants of the floodgate realm merely as pawns. But now, one of these pawns had not just stepped off the chessboard but had become a player, an astounding turn of events. Eventually, with Jiang Chengxuan's thorough explanation, everyone agreed to his proposal. Moments later, they took the information obtained from the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate back to their sects, preparing for the day they would go to war against the demon sects. At the same time, within the territory ruled by the demon sects, a remarkable union had taken place over the past few centuries, unbeknownst to the righteous cultivators of the floodgate realm. All demon sects, whether sacred skeleton sect, the ghost hall, or others, had merged almost completely under the influence of an unknown power. They no longer distinguished between you and me. All disciples addressed each other as brothers and shared a common faith. This event, while seemingly natural, was actually quite bizarre. Throughout the history of the floodgate realm, the demon sects had never been disbanded nor had they ever been united. Like this, although all practiced dark and unclean methods, each sect had its own heritage, and none would easily submit to another. Even in the current righteous scenario, under the dominance of the Haoran sect, it was only because of Jiang Chengxuan's personal charisma that a loose alliance was formed. To imagine the demon sects integrating completely into a single entity was unprecedented. Yet this was exactly what had happened within a short span of time. Move, head towards the southwest direction, set up the array flags according to the 99 laws. In a certain desolate area within the territory controlled by the demon sects, a large group of demon cultivators was marching under the command of a leader. If Jiang Chengxuan were here, he would recognize this leader as the long-missing Deadliest skeleton. The followers were undoubtedly disciples of the former Bone Demon Church. Neither Deadliest skeleton nor his followers wore the traditional white robes anymore. Instead, they were clad in robes of a chaotic mix of black and red, adorned with numerous skulls. Clearly, Sacred Skeleton Sect was now just another part of the demon sects and was no longer independent. Under Deadliest Skeleton's command, his followers were laboriously carrying a massive white pillar. These demon cultivators, all of whom possessed the cultivation of merging paths, seemed to struggle under the weight of this single pillar, which was oddly burdensome. This group of demon sect cultivators walked for a long time, finally arriving at their destination. They threw down the massive white pillar, causing the ground to tremble violently. Then they looked up towards Deadliest Skeleton, who was concentrating intensely, manifesting his Tao rules while layers of deduction power surfaced around him, evidently calculating something. "Ah, setting up this thing, I wonder when it will end. I haven't rested for hundreds of years." At this moment, the demon sect cultivators began to whisper among themselves. They all knew that Lord Skeleton's calculations would still take a considerable amount of time. Following his instructions, they then began to insert the massive and heavy banners into the ground. Indeed, for these hundreds of years, our demon sect has been setting these up, not even allowed to leave the sect. Another demon sect cultivator lamented helplessly. It's also unclear what all this is for. The Taoist keeps everything so secretive, no matter how much we inquire. These years had clearly bred resentment, which they now expressed freely. However, another demon sect cultivator rebuked them anxiously. These are orders from above. I advise you not to discuss it further. Have you forgotten what happened to Brother Haifeng? Hearing this, a chill ran through the other cultivators, their faces filled with lingering fear. Not long ago, a demon sect cultivator had tried to probe into the secrets of the setup and was immediately detected. An elder from his sect executed him on the spot with ruthless efficiency, a rare occurrence within the demon sects. Although the sects were harsh externally, the elders usually showed some leniency towards their own members. Yet, touching upon this secret meant immediate betrayal, indicating the immense significance behind it. Silenced by the reminder, all the demon cultivators ceased their discussions. Time passed silently until, after a stick of incense had burned down, Lord Skeleton finally showed signs of action. "Begin," he said coldly. Then, with a surge of pale spiritual power, his aged hand flung out, releasing several skulls that landed in specific spots on the ground. The skulls clicked their teeth incessantly and emitted an eerie green glow from their eyes, creating a terrifying sight. Without hesitation, the demon cultivators lifted the pale pillar again. This time, they summoned their strength, lifting the pillar into the air before driving it forcefully into the ground with their veins bulging. Boom, under their control, several white pillars simultaneously slammed into the earth, causing a terrifying quake and sending dust flying. Their practiced movements indicated that they had performed this task countless times before. As the white pillars settled into the ground, they emitted a wave of invisible vibrations, resonating with each other as if a giant invisible hand was plucking at them, creating a bizarre and shocking effect. Despite having seen it many times, the demon cultivators still felt a shiver run down their spines. These white pillars, which they had merely inserted into the ground using all their might, now vibrated in such a manner that it begged the question, what kind of being could manipulate them thus? Finally, all the white pillars vibrated into the ground completely, leaving only a fraction of their tips visible above the surface. A gust of cold wind then caused the exposed tips to sway, unfurling a flag with bizarre runes inscribed upon it. It turned out that these white pillars were actually flags, rooted deep in the earth, waving like torches burning in the wind. "Let's go back to the sect to fetch more flags, then move to the next location," Lord Skeleton said coldly, ignoring the exhausted expressions of his followers. With a flash, he transformed into a beam of light and disappeared into the distant sky, leaving his bewildered and fearful followers behind. For hundreds of years, they had been setting up without any breaks, as if fearful of something imminent. They moved from one place to another, racing against time. Even these cultivators, who were at the stage of merging paths, were exhausted and longed for a respite. But faced with the eerie atmosphere within the demon sect, and under the direct command of a Daelord, they dared not even utter a word about resting. "Let's go," they said numbly, transforming into beams of light and flying towards the location of the demon sect. This scene was replicated across the demon-controlled territory. If one could see through the dark clouds over the land of the demon sects, they would notice that nearly 90% of the area had flags planted. On his way to the demon sect, Lord Skeleton's expression was grave. According to the information provided by that certain individual, they were running out of time, and the setup of the absolute heaven array was still incomplete. Yes, the setup that the demon sect had been working on for hundreds of years was the absolute heaven array, a fact known only to Daelords of the demon sect. The absolute heaven array wasn't an array known within the floodgate realm, but was an extraterrestrial artifact, transcending the known existence. Even the purpose of the array was only revealed to Lord Skeleton and his peers by that mysterious entity. The absolute heaven array could completely isolate a region from the heavenly awareness, effectively blinding the consciousness of the world, a necessary condition for true immortal beings from higher realms to descend. The demon sects had been setting up this array with a clear, unspoken goal. All information about this array was so sensitive that even their own disciples, if they tried to probe into it, had to be eliminated immediately with extreme prejudice. The notion of collaborating with a demonic immortal being involved risks so great that it demanded utmost discretion. Even if their own disciples wouldn't betray them, the causal forces of the universe might detect their activities and bring divine punishment. The absolute heaven array was even more terrifying than the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate they had known about. The latter merely spied on the heavenly secrets and could provoke the wrath of the world's consciousness, let alone an array like the absolute heaven array that aimed to completely shield those secrets. However, what truly worried Daelord Skeleton was not just the complexity of the array or the enormity of the stakes involved. His greatest concern was that their actions, large and slow as they were, might not escape the notice of the major sects and families of the realm. Even though the demon sects had been racing against time, constantly setting up the array without rest for hundreds of years, they were still a hair's breadth away from true success. The resources and energies of the demon sects had been utterly drained. Even though they were anxious, they were also helpless. Days later, at the border of the demon sects, controlled territory, a large group of cultivators in various sect robes, exuding extraordinary auras, stood with their hands behind their backs. They were on a cliff, gazing into the heartland of the demon sects, but their vision was obscured by a swirling red and black fog, which was clearly not a natural phenomenon. After all, demon cultivators are still human, and they require similar environments for cultivation as other cultivators, one of the gathered cultivators explained. Only beings like demons from other realms would modify their domains to be filled with filth and demonic energy. This array is the War Fog Array, crafted by the combined might of the demon sects. With this array in place, it's difficult for us to observe their actions from the outside, another added. There had been conflicts between the righteous and demonic paths thousands of years ago, due to a cataclysmic event. At that time, under Jiang Chengxuan's leadership, the various sects had launched a surprise attack on the demon sect's heartland, driving them to the edges of the floodgate realm. Subsequently, the righteous sects had stationed monitors to prevent any potential misconduct by the demon sects. However, the emergence of the old ancestors of the demon sects, all of whom were powerful Daelords of Mahayana realm, changed the scenario drastically. With their intervention, the sects initially responsible for monitoring the demon sects could no longer interfere in their territories. If it weren't for the fear of reigniting conflict with the righteous alliance, these demon ancestors would have likely slain them outright, a cultivator remarked. To avoid further disturbances in the floodgate realm, an unspoken agreement was eventually reached between the demonic and righteous paths. The demon sects were to remain within their exiled territories and not relocate, while the righteous paths were not to interfere in demon sect affairs or enter their territories without cause. After centuries of this standoff, the demon sects erected the War Fog Array, effectively sealing off any external prying into their lands. As we stand here, the uneasy feeling in my heart intensifies, declared Daelord Pantheon, stepping forward. It appears that what Chengxuan has deduced might indeed be the truth. Qin Shenwu agreed, and others nodded in affirmation. The closer they got to the demon sect's borders, the more pronounced their unease became, unbeknownst to them, a sign of the nearing completion of the absolute heaven array and the consequent shifts in the spiritual energy. Damn the demon sects to sacrifice the entire floodgate realm for their selfish gains. A Daelord from the divine shadow gate cursed in anger. If the demonic immortal being truly descends, it seems only the traitorous demon sects would be spared. If the floodgate realm were to be destroyed, not even the demon sects themselves might survive. It must be that the demonic immortal promised to help the demon sect Daelords ascend to the immortal realm. Only such an offer could drive them to such madness. Jiang Chengxuan spoke again, standing alongside Shen Ruyan. This speculation startled the other Daelords. The thought that the demon sects understood the motives behind their actions offered some explanation. To ascend to the immortal realm without the necessary destiny is as difficult as reaching the heavens, but with the aid of an immortal it becomes within reach, Jiang continued. This temptation, especially for those near the peak of Mahayana, was nearly irresistible. Every step closer to ascension is fraught with risk. A single mistake could mean obliteration. Apart from Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Qin Shenwu, who else among the gathered Daelords could confidently reject the lure of a guaranteed ascension? Silence fell over the group. "Let's go. There's no time to ponder further," Jiang finally said. "We must delve deeper into the demon sect's territory, uncover their plots, and thwart their plans. This battle may well be the strongest the Floodgate realm has seen in thousands of years. Everyone, please be cautious." With that, the elite cultivators from various sects, all of them Daelords, readied themselves. It was a gathering more formidable than even the historic battles of the Five Realms. The leaders among them exchanged glances and began to cast their protective spells, covering the others with their formidable power, ensuring silent entry into the fog of war. Without further discussion, each group, led by a Daelord, entered the demon lands. Only Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan remained, forming a special team tasked with infiltrating the very heart of the demon sects. "Let's go, wife," Jiang Chengxuan said to Shen Ruyan. "All right," she replied. After the others had departed, the couple transformed into beams of light, diving into the war fog, stirring not a single ripple. Meanwhile, within the territory controlled by the demonic sects, the grand elders from various demonic paths were leading their disciples, positioning large white banners at calculated spots. These banners trembled oddly as they were planted, resembling venomous spires piercing deep into the substrate of the Floodgate realm. "We're close, it's almost complete," expressed the Daelord from the Five Poisons sect, his eyes shimmering with excitement. According to the information from the other demonic sect leaders, only 10 more positions were needed to fully deploy the Absolute Heaven array. "Once we facilitate the descent of the great demonic immortal into the Floodgate realm, my lifelong wish will be fulfilled," the Five Poisons Daelord muttered as he gazed into the war fog that shrouded the demonic realm. Originally meant to preserve his lifespan by lying dormant within a seal, he had instead chosen to spend hundreds of years outside, setting up the array, all to fulfill his ambition of ascending to the immortal realm. For ascension, he would sacrifice anything, even his own lineage and the legacy of the Five Poisons sect he founded. The prospect of ascending to the immortal realm, for someone of his cultivation standing, was tantamount to being reborn, a temptation impossible for anyone to resist. Buzz, a mysterious vibration traveled between the white banners, and the Five Poisons Daelord showed a satisfied expression, ready to direct his followers to the next location. However, at that moment, a shocking change occurred. From behind their group, a sudden explosion of formidable power erupted from a point in space. Terrifying forces of Tao rules like furious dragons surged forth. An enemy attack, defend. The Season 5 Poisons Daelord, cunning and experienced as he was, instantly recognized the threat of an incoming attack. His Tao rules manifested, emitting a dense, dark purple energy that corroded the void as it attempted to block the incoming assault. In fact, half a day earlier, the group of cultivators led by Daelord Pantheon had already tracked their way to this array setup site by following the lingering energies. However, upon detecting the enemy, Daelord Pantheon did not command an immediate attack. Instead, observing the bizarre actions of the demonic cultivators, he led his group to lie in wait at this location, seeking to uncover the underlying conspiracy. It was only after observing the deployment of one banner after another that he realized the people from the demonic sects were setting up an array. Despite his extensive experience as a great Daelord, he could not recognize any aspects of the array being set up. Yet the sheer terror of the array was undeniable. Just the fluctuations emitted during its setup caused a vague and obscure unease in Daelord Pantheon's heart. Ultimately, he chose to record the process of the array's setup using a certain type of recording stone, and sent it to Jiang Chengxuan through various means. After completing all this, and just as the enemy was about to leave, feeling relaxed, he chose to strike boldly. In the void, the Tao rule of Daelord Pantheon and Daelord Five Poisons collided suddenly, causing a terrifying explosion at their meeting point. Undoubtedly, the site of impact was closer to the demonic cultivators' side. As a result, countless demonic cultivators were caught in the blast and severely wounded in an instant. The only regret was that Daelord Five Poisons seemed to have been on guard against something, and thus, even under a surprise attack, no effective damage was inflicted. Daelord Pantheon, you intrude into our demonic territory uninvited. Are you trying to start a war? After the clash, Daelord Five Poisons shouted furiously with a ferocious expression. If it wasn't for the need to be constantly vigilant while deploying the Absolute Heaven array, he might very well have faced uncertain life or death under that strike, which infuriated him even more. What vile deeds your demonic sect has done? Do I even need to say it out loud? Daelord Pantheon retorted without backing down, immediately challenging the other. This remark shocked Daelord Five Poisons, his expression gradually turning grave. He didn't counter but instead asked calmly, realizing something. How long have you been in the demonic territory? I have nothing to say to you, but we are fully aware of the filthy deeds performed by your old demonic Daelords. The exchange between the two Daelords left their subordinates confused, yet they themselves understood the implications of the conversation. Does this mean the righteous forces have fully infiltrated the demonic territory? Daelord Five Poisons asked again, his face darkening. However, Daelord Pantheon gave no response, just staring fixedly at his opponent. In that instant, Daelord Five Poisons understood that the righteous path had indeed uncovered the demonic plot, and a cataclysmic battle was now unavoidable. Then you shall all die. The next moment, he manifested his great Tao rule, a dense black-purple energy enveloping the world around him, pressing down ferociously towards Daelord Pantheon. HMPH, Daelord Pantheon no longer held back either. Golden light surged around him, his great Tao rule manifesting as a vast golden river, rushing towards the black-purple energy to counter it. As the two clashed, a signal for all-out combat was given. Cultivators from both the righteous and demonic sides began to unleash various techniques against their foes. Boom, boom. The collision between Daelord Five Poisons and Daelord Pantheon shook the entire world. If not for the floodgate realm being fortified by a prosperous era, a natural disaster would have likely been triggered. Whoosh, without hesitation, the two transformed into beams of light, ascending to the skies above. Only there could they fight without causing catastrophic damage to the world below. This scene was mirrored in many areas within the demonic territory, as Daelord Skeleton clashed against Qin Shenwu's Five Elements Mountains, and Daelord Phantom Ghost unleashed the Path of the Yellow Springs against his adversary's overwhelming sword intent. A war involving all peak powers of the floodgate realm erupted without warning, an epic battle that involved the highest echelons of power. All cultivators within the demonic territory trembled at this world-shattering scene, puzzled why the righteous Daelords had suddenly initiated a massive attack against them. Under such terrifying pressure, they had no capacity to think, only trying to flee the battlefield to avoid being caught in the crossfire. Meanwhile, in the central stronghold of the demonic alliance, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan stood in the void, sensing the terrifying energies unleashed from various locations, aware that a grand battle between good and evil had once again begun. However, the couple chose not to attack the main sect of the demonic alliance directly. Jiang Chengxuan was more concerned with the array flags that had been discovered by the Daelords during their covert operations, or before the war broke out within the demonic territory. Despite his expertise in array, he could not determine the purpose of the array from the images sent by his allies. Such a situation undoubtedly piqued Jiang Chengxuan's curiosity. They had come here to strike against the demonic sects, but uncovering the conspiracy between the demonic sects and the demonic immortals was their primary goal. Husband, based on what I see, this array set up by the demonic sects certainly does not belong to the floodgate realm, Shen Ruyan commented softly after reviewing the transmissions from other Daelords. Jiang Chengxuan agreed wholeheartedly. Given that the demonic sects had aligned with a demonic immortal, it was unlikely they would exert such effort for a trivial array. He promptly took out a jade slip from his collection, which had been recorded by Immortal Eastern River, labeled Record of Unusual Arrays. Absolute Heaven Array. After searching the jade slip and carefully comparing the information, Jiang Chengxuan located the details about this particular array. Shen Ruyan leaned over to read along, her expression growing solemn. Absolute Heaven Array isolates heavenly secrets, summons immortals. These brief descriptions were enough to turn both Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's expressions grave. It was hard to imagine that, unbeknownst to them, the plans of the demonic immortals and the demonic sects had progressed so far. Had they not uncovered this today, they might soon have faced a true immortal being, an opponent against whom even a united front of all sects would stand little chance. After a moment of contemplation, both Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other, seeing the shock in each other's eyes. According to descriptions from various great Daelords, the Absolute Heaven Array was possibly near 80% completion. Upon discovering the existence of the Absolute Heaven Array, Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan felt a chill down their spines, yet at the same time, there was a sense of relief. Only at this moment did they truly unravel the mystery of the great calamity of the world, finding a ray of hope amidst the fog. It must be said, the decision to declare war on the demonic sects, although rational, was still a huge gamble. Jiang Chengshuan, although never showing it publicly, couldn't help but harbor concerns about the plan in his heart. Their opponent was a demonic immortal, akin to a deity for the floodgate realm, with all other beings mere ants by comparison. Competing against such an entity required immense courage. As the leader of the floodgate realm, Jiang Chengshuan carried a weight on his shoulders not as light as others might imagine. Each of his decisions impacted the future of the realm. Any slight mishap could render him a sinner for eternity. However, with the discovery of the absolute heaven array, things had changed. The existence of this array had confirmed the accuracy of Jiang Chengshuan's deductions. The ultimate goal of the demonic immortal was indeed within the demonic sect's territory. They had finally grasped the strings of fate firmly in their hands at this moment. The array set up by the demonic sects is the absolute heaven array, capable of shielding against heavenly secrets and summoning immortals. All teams, remember to prioritize its destruction. Upon receiving this information, Jiang Chengshuan did not hesitate to send this crucial directive to every cultivator through special means. Instantly, cultivators scattered across various regions of the demonic territory were taken aback upon hearing this. The true intent of the demonic immortal was to descend into the floodgate realm using their real spirit. With the demonic sect's assistance, this plan had progressed to such an advanced stage. A wave of chilling realization swept over them, yet at the same time, they felt a mix of relief and secret joy. Thankfully, they had Jiang Chengshuan's mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate, which allowed all the sects to arrive here in time to unravel the demonic sect's conspiracy. First, destroy those array flags, avoid entangling with the enemy. Upon receiving Jiang Chengshuan's message, the cultivators on various battlefields immediately relayed the command. Previously, cultivators from the Righteous Alliance, deeply engaged in fierce battles with the demonic cultivators, suddenly ceased their assaults and disengaged from combat. While the demonic cultivators were puzzled by their opponents' sudden withdrawal, suspecting some sort of strategy, the cultivators of the righteous path manifested various powers and launched attacks directly at the completed array flags. Thunderous booms resounded. Various powers struck the array flags of the absolute heaven array, which were deeply rooted in the ground, causing terrifying tremors. The entire realm of the demonic sects shook violently, massive fissures spreading everywhere, resembling deep abysses. This spectacle filled the demonic cultivators with a creeping unease, as due to the demonic Daelord's secrecy, they were unaware of the actual purpose of these array flags. Damn it all, heed my command, protect the array flags. The next moment, witnessing all this, the demonic Daelords were unable to contain their fury, their voices thundering across the void. These array flags represented their hope for ascension to the immortal realm, and much of the demonic sects, resources and efforts had gone into their completion to this point. Now, as the righteous path began attacking the array flags, it was as painful as if they were being struck themselves. Immediately, countless demonic cultivators reacted, unleashing their own Tao rules in attempts to block the attacks from the righteous path. However, due to years of development, the collective strength of the righteous cultivators had always been superior to that of the demonic path, and with their focused attacks solely on the array flags, the demonic side could hardly stop them. Under the relentless bombardment of spells, the robust absolute heaven array flags began to show signs of damage and fragmentation. In just moments, nearly 10% of the array flags set up by the demonic sects across various locations were forcibly removed by the righteous side. This development enraged the demonic Daelords, nearly driving them to spitting blood. The absolute heaven array, which they had been setting up for 100 years, had consumed untold resources and time. Now, it was being destroyed in an instant. You all deserve to die. Daelord 5 poisons will kill you all. High above in the battlefield of the skies, seeing this, Daelord 5 poisons unleashed terrifying Tao rules, attempting to break through the blockade and crush the righteous cultivators below. Humph, don't even think about it. Colluding with foreign enemies, today will be the day your demonic sect is annihilated. As Daelord Pantheon coldly snorted, he summoned countless divine soldiers and generals. With formidable force, They broke through the opposing seals, pushing back forcefully to their original positions. The two sides immediately erupted into a fierce battle again, their Tao rules enveloping part of the world, stirring up countless chaotic energies. But on another battlefield, under the leadership of Qin Shenwu, the many cultivators of the Heoran sect were also actively destroying the array flags. Qin Shenwu, today it's either your death or mine. Above the heaven, Daelord Skeleton, standing on skeletals, shouted venomously at Qin Shenwu. He never imagined that thousands of years after his defeat in the immortal cave abode, it would again be Qin Shenwu and the Heoran sect blocking his path to a great opportunity. Ha ha ha, you should be thinking about how you're going to escape today. Facing Daelord Skeleton's deployment of the Path of Bones, and the numerous large skeletal manifestations rushing to attack, Qin Shenwu laughed heartily as he manifested his five elements true body and fearlessly engaged in battle. The two fought fiercely in the chaos, neither yielding a step, their eerie skeletal manifestations clashing with the brilliant five elements true body in a battle as grand as that of gods and demons. But on yet another battlefield, Daelord Infinite held the arcane treasure, the infinite sword, manifesting a sky-encompassing sword prison. Millions of sword lights like a flowing galaxy surged towards his enemy. Facing him was Daelord Phantom Ghost, whom Jiang Chengxuan had heavily injured before. Now recovered to 90% of his strength, under his manifested path of the netherworld, countless vengeful spirits and ghastly souls devoured and tore at the void, clashing with the manifested sword lights of the infinite sword path. The two were evenly matched in strength, making it difficult to determine a victor. However, their expressions during the battle were starkly different. Daelord Infinite was expressionless and cold, whereas Daelord Phantom Ghost looked frantic and furious. Beneath the battlefield of these two, it was the righteous cultivators and demonic sect members clashing. Amidst the manifestations of their Tao rules and the thunderous roars, the earth split apart, and one after another, the flags of the absolute heaven array were destroyed. Clearly, what Daelord Phantom Ghost was anxious about were these array flags. Within every battlefield across the demonic sect's territory, the righteous side almost universally held the advantage, driving back the demonic sects at every turn, rendering them powerless and furious. Standing just outside the void of the demonic sect's main base, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan quickly received messages from various battlefields that they were prevailing. Together, they estimated that about 20% of the array flags for the Absolute Heaven array set up by the demonic sect had already been destroyed by the righteous side. Clearly, this outcome indicated one thing: the overall strength of the righteous side completely overwhelmed that of the demonic sect. It seems the demon immortal chose the wrong allies, Jiang Chengxuan commented with a smile. His mood lightened under such advantageous circumstances, enough to joke about it. Yes, when the demonic sect's forces retreat here, it will be our time to act, Shen Ruyan slowly replied. Their purpose in coming to the demonic sect's main base was twofold. First, to investigate the messages related to the celestial catastrophe and to probe the demon immortal schemes, which they had now accomplished. Second, to intercept the demonic forces here as they retreated, pinning them between two fronts to finalize the battle. According to Jiang Chengxuan and others, discussion, the only retreat route for the demonic sect under disadvantage would be to return here. Beyond the borders of the demonic sect's territory lay the realms controlled by the righteous path. Even if the high-ranking cultivators were almost all present here, they would not dare to escape rashly. And indeed, that was the case. Reports from the battlefield indicated that once the demonic sect's troops realized they were beaten, they fought retreating battles, gradually consolidating towards their position. After so many years of conflict with the demonic sect, the righteous path of the floodgate realm had a firm grasp on the enemy's tactics. All that's left is to give it time, Jiang Chengxuan murmured, and time quietly passed. One day, while they were resting in this location, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan finally sensed a large group of cultivators approaching from miles away. Among them were numerous beings above the Union realm, and even the number of Daelords exceeded 2 digits. The ultimate battlefield between the righteous sects and the demonic forces had finally arrived at this location. All factions from both sides had gathered here, a scene of astonishing magnitude. Such a battle was unprecedented in the history of the floodgate realm. Observing everything from the void, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan felt boundless spirits rising within them. After such a long wait today, they could finally make their move and bring a decisive conclusion to this epic battle. Hurry, as long as we return to the main sect and contact the demon Immortal, we still have hope. These damned righteous cultivators, one day, I will turn you all into puppets. At the forefront of the retreating demonic forces, several streaks of light flew quickly, led by the well-known figures to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, Daelord Skeleton and Daelord Phantom Ghost, accompanied by 5 other Daelords of the demonic sect. After facing consecutive defeats and knowing they couldn't reverse the downward spiral, they led their followers in a collective retreat. They believed that within the demonic sect's main base, there was still a chance for turnaround, having unwavering faith in that eminent being's capabilities. But then, a very calm voice emerged, causing the complexions of these demonic Daelords to drastically change. "Fellows, I've been waiting a long time for you. How have you been?" This familiar voice immediately shocked Daelord Skeleton and Daelord Phantom Ghost, filling them with immense fear. 2 figures slowly emerged from the void, blocking all the demonic Daelords' paths, manifesting terrifyingly powerful Dao forces that overshadowed the heavens. Needless to say, these figures were none other than Shen Ruyan and Jiang Chengxuan. Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan. Daelord Skeleton and Daelord Phantom Ghost shouted ferociously. Hearing these names, the other demonic Daelords also shook in shock. In an instant, they realized they had fallen into a trap. Without any hesitation, they exploded with all their Dao rule, launching a ferocious assault on the 2 decisively. At this critical moment of life and death, despite feeling despair, they could not afford to give up, and if they wanted to return to the demonic sect, they had no choice but to eliminate these 2 adversaries. The Dao forces of 5 Daelords manifested simultaneously in the void, their different powers charging through the cosmos, pressing down oppressively. This power caused the void to crack instantaneously, shaking the world. Even for Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, this moment demanded full concentration as they manifested the Dao rule of life and death, merging their powers to meet the attack head-on. The clash of 7 great Dao Lord forces was terrifying. Their collision caused an unprecedented explosion in the void, giving birth to nothingness that devoured everything. The shockwave from this encounter even shook the entire floodgate realm. At this moment, Qin Shenwu and others, aware that Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had engaged with the enemy, unleashed their full strength and traversed the void to join the battle. "Hurry, push them back, or we'll be completely encircled," bellowed Daelord Skeleton. He manifested dozens of skeletal phantasms in a suicidal attack, desperate to break through. The rest of the demonic Daelords, sensing the urgency, also unleashed their most powerful divine abilities, striving to repel Jiang and Shen quickly. A barrage of supreme divine powers erupted, and in front of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, an endless torrent of energy swept through. 5-colored Nirvana Lotus manifest. In an instant, Jiang Chengxuan held nothing back. His 5 elements Dao rule peaked as a multicolored world emerged around them with a divine lotus materializing from thin air, pressing down on the surroundings and manifesting miraculous visions. Then the 5 supreme powers reversed, causing causality to flow backward, and terrifying dharmic power erupted at that moment. The 5-colored Nirvana Lotus faced the onslaught of the 5 demonic Daelords, divine powers head-on. In that instant, the sky lost its color, and the entire demonic sect's territory was lit as if it were daylight. Nothingness emerged in the void, creating what seemed like a breach in the demonic land. Countless chaotic energies poured out, contaminating everything around. Jiang Chengxuan single-handedly blocked the attack of 5 Daelords, a scene of staggering impact. In an instant, all the demonic Daelords felt a sense of unreality, disbelief etched across their faces. Being of equal rank, why could this man achieve such feats? Without time for further thought, the next moment, a primordial divine thunder from Shen Ruyan shattered the nothingness, striking like a torrential galaxy. This sudden attack, no less powerful than Jiang Chengxuan's, caught the demonic Daelords off guard. They roared in unison, unleashing their Dao forces in defense. Amidst thunderous roars, Shen Ruyan's attack collided with the Dao rules of the 5 demonic Daelords, darkening the entire landscape. The earth trembled as if the sky had collapsed. The terrifying rumblings and aftershocks caused the demonic sect's army, miles away, to shatter in spirit, making it impossible for them to approach the combat zone. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's blockade had effectively cut off any retreat for these demonic cultivators. "No, how can this be?" Are we truly doomed today? In that moment, countless demonic cultivators screamed in despair. Just as they were about to retreat into the sanctuary of the demonic sect's main sect, an insurmountable divide appeared before them. Behind them, the righteous cultivators were rapidly closing in. Their formidable presence and the dazzling display of their Tao rules in the void were intimidating. To the demonic cultivators, however, this appeared no less than a vision of hell. In the next moment, amidst waves of fluctuating energies, various spells and divine abilities rained down from the heavens, bombarding the demonic army. A brutal slaughter commenced once more within the bounds of the demonic realm. Shifting focus back to the battleground of the Daelords. After the destruction erupted, in a devastated expanse of the void, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan stood with arms behind their backs, their expressions grim as they faced their foes. The 5 Daelords of the demonic sect stood before them, shaken and despondent after a round of exchanges. Though no longer at their peak, they were still immensely confident in their own strength. However, after witnessing the terrifying power displayed by Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, they began to doubt their own capabilities, feeling tremors even in their Tao hearts. Outnumbered 5-2, yet still unable to repel Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, the cruelty of their situation surpassed their wildest imaginations. At that moment, an ominous voice from behind the 5 Daelords plunged their hearts into despair. Today marks your end, traitors of Floodgate deserving of death. From behind the 5 demonic Daelords in the void, the sound of tearing echoed as 5 formidable presences slowly emerged. It was Qin Shenwu, Daelord Pantheon, and others. With Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan blocking them, these figures had finally arrived, completing the encirclement of the demonic Daelords. This development truly made Daelord skeleton, and others feel as if they were surrounded by enemies on all sides. Could it be that after today, the demonic sect would be completely eradicated from the Floodgate realm? But, a bunch of useless fools. Meanwhile, beneath a barrier in the eastern sea, within a demon-infested cave, a sinister voice rang out. Dark shadows twisted and manifested in the cave, revealing the battlefield of the demonic side. What a pity, the absolute heaven array was just one step away from completion. These Floodgate realm cultivators really have too much luck. But do you think it's over? Let your comrades entertain you for a while, haha. The being lurking in the shadows felt no panic. On the contrary, his excitement and amusement only grew. As his maniacal laughter echoed, the entire cave seemed to activate some power, starting to shake violently. Billowing demonic mists converged, forming a devouring vortex. Countless puppets, made from Floodgate realm cultivators, slowly sank into the ground within this vortex. On the battlefield between the demonic cultivators and the righteous side, the fight had reached its most intense stage. The righteous side, leveraging their overall strength and momentum, had already annihilated many demonic cultivators, tipping the scales of victory completely in their favor. However, just then, a sudden tightness gripped the hearts of all cultivators. A powerful sense of unease suddenly descended upon everyone. The atmosphere between heaven and earth rapidly turned violent and demonic, and suddenly, a roaring sound from the sky drew everyone's attention. A massive black and red vortex swallowed the sky in an instant, with endless demonic mists surging out like a storm. This terrifying spectacle shocked everyone present, causing them to involuntarily gather together, ceasing their attacks. Demonic mists, could it be? They had a terrifying guess in their hearts, having seen such vast demonic mists only in one other place, and the dreadful scenes from the mystic heavenly array of cosmic fate once again flashed through their minds. Without time to ponder, the next moment, thunder roared within the blood-red vortex, and figures shrouded in corrupting mists flew out. These figures were none other than countless puppets made from missing cultivators of the Floodgate realm, descending like a meteor shower of evil spirits from the sky. That's the leader of Shenji sect, Saint Shenji. That's the sect master of Tianyu sect, Saint Tianyu. In an instant, some of the righteous cultivators recognized several figures lurking beneath the thick demonic mists and exclaimed in shock. No, they have been turned into puppets. Don't let your emotions sway you, show no mercy. A righteous cultivator shouted, jolting everyone awake. The faces of all present turned grave as they quickly adjusted their mindset, preparing to face the enemy. As cultivators, they were well aware of the principles involved. Roar Aya. Amidst the trembling of the earth, the countless demonized puppets landed on the battlefield, howling furiously. Their demonic aura surged to the skies, instantly turning the area profoundly corrupt. The next moment, these demonized puppets began to manifest some kind of bizarre Tao power, charging at the righteous cultivators. This sudden twist caught even the demonic side off guard. Although these demonized puppets didn't assist them, they also didn't attack them, clearly indicating they were on the same side. Fight your way back. In an instant, the demonic cultivators realized what was happening and joined the charge along with the demonized puppets. The situation reversed in the blink of an eye. These demonized puppets, originally from powerful forces, had become even stronger after being reforged by the demonic immortal's methods. Their powers, derived from a Tao that did not belong to the floodgate realm, were exceedingly strange and fierce. As the three forces clashed together, the battlefield saw the righteous side of the floodgate realm suddenly at a disadvantage. Amidst the sky-high demonic mists, the righteous cultivators felt an inexplicable suppression, rapidly turning the battle grim. Meanwhile, at Xianxia's battlefield, 5 formidable demonic stars crossed the void and forcefully descended into the fray, their ferocious killing intent sweeping across the area. The arrival of the 5 formidable demonized puppets immediately startled Xianxia and the others, causing them to cease their encirclement of the demonic Daelords. It's the old ancestors from the missing sects. In the next moment, Qin Shenwu's eyes narrowed as he recognized the identities of these figures. At this, Jiang Chengxuan understood that the demonic immortal had likely noticed the events unfolding here and had shifted the power from the demonic abyss to this battlefield. On the other side, Daelord Skeleton and others felt the surging demonic aura and knew that their rescuer had acted, filling them with joy. Roar! The 5 demonized puppets, devoid of self-awareness and following only commands, immediately recognized their targets and launched an attack on Jiang Chengxuan and the others without hesitation. As the demonic Tao manifested, darkening the skies, filthy blood rain poured down from the heavens. The explosive force released by the 5 ancestor-level demonized puppets in an instant stunned everyone present. These individuals, who in life were merely at the level of Tao mastery, had entered false Mahayana through demonic transformation, exhibiting bizarre and powerful forms. The 5 demonized puppets, manifesting Tao rule, turned the void into an extremely filthy quagmire. The next moment their forms rapidly expanded, transforming into towering beings. The terrifying power of their Tao immediately shattered the void, hurtling towards Jiang Chengxuan and the others. The strange Tao power of the puppets affected everyone present, causing a sense of stagnation, except for Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. However, the power of the Daelords was sufficient to break through the blockade, and Qin Shenwu and others instantly manifested various divine powers to counterattack. Boom, boom! The already chaotic battlefield erupted anew, stirring countless chaotic energies. After this exchange, Qin Shenwu and others appeared solemn. The puppet's power was enough to match them evenly. Kill the power of the skeleton, annihilate all beings. However, Daelord Skeleton and other demonic Daelords were cunning, and did not miss this opportunity to strike while the demonized puppets were pushed back. The 5 demonic Daelords all manifested their Tao and launched divine powers in an attack. In the void above, chaotic and demonic energies intertwined, with ghostly white skeletal figures and terrifying specters flickering in and out of existence. 5-colored Nirvana Divine Lotus, deploy. Primordial Life and Death Thunder, strike. Facing the divine powers of the 5 demonic Daelords, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan once again made their move, their 2 great divine powers forcefully breaking the blockade to strike back. The brilliant primordial thunder released in the demonic mists unleashed intense energy, scorching the void with a sizzling sound. The vast destructive surge of the 5 elements Nirvana Lotus then reversed the 5 elements, erupting once more with a world-shaking force. Boom, boom! This time, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's counterattack once again stopped the assault of the 5 demonic Daelords. But in the waves of the aftermath, the demonized puppets disregarded everything, forcibly charging towards them amid the impact. In an instant, Jiang Chengxuan saw multiple demonic shadows flicker before his eyes, and then 3 demonized puppets simultaneously extended their hands, pressing down. The void cracked inch by inch, the eerie demonic energy sealing the surroundings, trapping him. Such power was alien to the floodgate realm, and for a moment, even Jiang Chengxuan struggled to respond. But naturally, he would not sit idly by. The next moment, Jiang Chengxuan's body erupted with mysterious fluctuations, and ripples spread through the void. A force of nothingness appeared beside him, forming a full moon around him. Void reversal halo burst. At Jiang Chengxuan's furious shout, a vast force of nothingness exploded instantaneously, devouring everything in its vicinity. This divine technique, gleaned from the killing moves of a ninth-tier exotic beast, was naturally extremely potent. The filthy demonic hands near Jiang Chengxuan were annihilated on contact with the power of the void reversal halo, dissolving into nothingness. Even the mindless puppets felt a sense of fear from this attack, retreating back to their original positions under the cover of rolling demonic mists. However, their arms, which had been caught in the devouring force of the void reversal halo, had disappeared, equivalent to severe damage. Good Chengxuan. Seeing this, Qin Shenwu and others immediately cheered, rallying around him. But the 5 demonic Daelords, having once again witnessed Jiang Chengxuan's terrifying divine power, were left speechless and dismayed. Yet in the next moment, their expressions suddenly shifted as they observed a bizarre energy infusing into the bodies of the demonized puppets from behind them. Instantaneously, the arms of the puppets that had been devoured by the void began to regenerate, returning to their pristine condition as if nothing had happened. Even the residual effects of Jiang Chengxuan's Dao power on them were dispelled. How is this possible? This scene prompted an astonished outcry from Daelord Pantheon. Although Daelords possess bodies that may not perish or decay, such resilience is typically only relative to ordinary cultivators. Damage inflicted by other Daelords is generally lethal because it represents a clash of the great Dao, where life and death outcomes are expected. At the same time, in the battlefield where lesser Dao cultivators clashed, many of the righteous cultivators began to notice anomalies. The demonized puppets, even when severely damaged or effectively annihilated, could resurrect from death. These transformed cultivators appeared incapable of true death. Even if their Dao was ground away, they could regenerate under the influence of demonic mists, returning to their original state. This development sent chills down the spines of all righteous cultivators. This was the power of a demonic immortal, evidently beyond their comprehension. Damn it, these puppets are essentially immortal. If this continues, we are doomed. As the righteous forces suffered setbacks, panic started to set in. Faced with such an adversary, they felt despair as they found themselves powerless. Even Jiang Chengxuan, observing all this, wore an extremely grave expression, his heart filled with alarm. The horror of the demonic immortal became even clearer to him. Ha ha ha, the immortal is invincible. How can you resist such power? At that moment, the demonic Daelords, too, began to revel in madness. You have no idea what it means to be an immortal. You are all but ants, and yet you dare resist. Daelord 5 Poison's eyes gleamed with fanaticism. This scenario made him envision his ascended self in the immortal realm, possessed of eternal, undying power, seemingly beckoning to him. The eerie abilities displayed by the demonized puppets placed the righteous forces in an extremely difficult position. Although they initially had a numerical advantage, the entry of the demonized puppets into the battle nullified this advantage, not to mention the overall comparison of combat power between the two sides. At this moment, the scales of victory had completely tipped in favor of the demonic sect. Form the heavenly cycles array and defend against the enemy. As the battlefield fell into retreat, suddenly a voice called out. This command prompted many cultivators from the Heoran sect to rapidly assemble from all directions. An array platform emerged out of nowhere, spanning hundreds of miles, with the energy of Heoran descending onto the battlefield, manifesting Tao and surging with dharmic power. A mysterious vibration burst forth, and a vast area on the battlefield lit up with numerous columns of spiritual energy, interweaving to form a grand and intricate array. At the heart of the array stood Elder Ling Yuehu of the Heoran sect, surrounded by figures such as Jiang Anren, Zai Xiangyao, and Zhao Tianfen. This heavenly cycles array was a contingency plan left by Jiang Chengxuan for the Heoran sect members before heading to the demonic sect's territory, prepared for any potential dangers that might arise, and now it proved its worth. The moment the array was activated, all cultivators within felt a surge of empowering energy, rapidly rejuvenating their weary bodies and spirits. Moreover, the demonic cultivators and demonized puppets within the range of the array suffered simultaneous severe injuries. Vast dharmic powers roared down from above the array, causing screams of agony. Even the corrupted spiritual energy influenced by the demonized puppets was significantly purified by the array. This scene greatly bolstered the morale of the righteous side, bringing smiles to faces that had faced only despair. The array, combining enhancement, enemy suppression, and control, was exquisitely crafted and powerful. Under its influence, many cultivators found their will to fight reignited. Charge back, we still have hope. In the next moment, numerous cultivators from the righteous side reinvigorated their efforts, unleashing their Tao and dharmic powers towards the enemy. Unfortunately, while the heavenly cycles array slowed down the resurrection of the demonized puppets, it did not manage to destroy them completely. However, with the members of the Haoran sect controlling the array, the righteous side managed to avoid a complete rout, and the battle situation became tense once more. Still, victory remained elusive for everyone involved. On the battlefield of the Daelords, the situation was equally intense. Following the display of bizarre capabilities by the 5 demonized puppets, the ferocity of the demonic side was fully ignited. Feeling the covert support of the demonic immortal, all demonic Daelords were filled with a frenzied fighting spirit. The 5 demonic Daelords, unleashing their own powerful Tao, coordinated an assault on Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Meanwhile, the 5 demonized puppets each engaged a righteous Daelord, entangling them with their eerie immortality. Although not truly a match for a genuine great Daelord, their relentless and fearless attacks required the Daelords to respond with caution. In this battlefield, the situation was also dire. If Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan could not withstand the assault from the 5 Daelords, the battle lines would collapse. Damned bizarre demonized puppets. In the midst of the void, Qin Shenwu manifested his 5 elements Tao body, bridging heaven and earth, his voice thundering as he clashed with similarly colossal demonized puppets. Though his power surpassed theirs, the demonized puppets did not retreat and resisted stubbornly against damage, forcefully blocking him. Moreover, despite using Tao force to suppress them, these puppets countered with their strange external powers, proving to be very troublesome. Thus, Qin Shenwu could only pray anxiously in his heart for Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan on the other side of the battlefield. The other Daelords felt similarly, facing blockades by the demonized puppets and unable to break through. They could only hope that Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan could perform a miracle and prevail against 5 opponents. Especially after witnessing their terrifying strength earlier, Daelord Pantheon and others quietly felt that this feat might just be possible. Amidst constant booms and the birth and death of stars in the void, each action by the 5 Daelords could shake the entire world. Their confrontation affected the entire floodgate realm, with natural disasters manifesting around them, thunder exploding across thousands of miles, giant tides rising in the eastern sea, mountains trembling, and meteoric fires falling from the sky. These phenomena led many uninformed cultivators to despair, mistaking them for the signs of an apocalyptic calamity, sighing up at the heavens. However, this was merely the aftermath of the battles preceding the great calamity. Daelords, being the pinnacle of power in their realm, had the capacity to influence the entire cultivation world with their actions. At this moment, the fate of the floodgate realm indeed rested in Jiang Chengxuan's hands. Once during the Great Wars, he was merely a pawn in the game, but now he held the power to decide the outcome of the entire battle. This immense responsibility did not crush Jiang Chengxuan. Instead, it ignited an endless fighting spirit and pride within him. On the battlefield, he manifested the Tao rules of life and death, samsara, and the 5 elements, battling fiercely against 3 demonic Daelords single-handedly and with increasing vigor. Each clash dimmed the skies and shook the demonic sect's foundations. This spectacle, witnessed by countless cultivators, not only shocked them but also filled their hearts with immense admiration and respect. In the territory of the demonic sect, this epic war had stretched across countless years, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Amidst the relentless clashes, both sides had paid a heavy price, with countless cultivators either wounded or dead. On the battlefield of Tao integration, the great array was now dimmed, yet the demonic energy remained dense and unyielding. Clearly, in this latest counterattack, the forces of righteousness had not achieved a decisive victory. However, after they temporarily adjusted their strategy, focusing all efforts on the cultivators of the demonic sect, they managed to score some victories, reducing the number of their enemies. But when it came to the undying, demonic puppets, they had no choice but to hold their ground and continuously evade. In the void, the eerie power of the 5 demonic puppets weighed heavily on Qin Shenwu and his comrades. In fact, their situation was even more precarious than the one faced by Jiang Chengxuan. On Jiang Chengxuan's battlefield, the terrifying bone avatar of Deadliest skeleton was swiftly severed by Jiang Chengxuan's blade, and the path of the yellow springs of Deadliest phantom ghost was riddled with wounds from Shen Ruyan's divine thunder. The two's terrifying power enraged Deadliest skeleton and Deadliest phantom ghost, forcing them to retreat several miles. Just then, a demonic sect Deadliest seized the moment, conjuring numerous dark rings that encircled Jiang Chengxuan like stellar rings, attempting to imprison him. Simultaneously, another Deadliest, wielding a powerful arcane artifact, struck down with gathered fearsome power towards Jiang Chengxuan's head. Shen Ruyan transformed into a thunder dragon, roaring as she shattered the condensed power, her divine thunder exploding and forcing the enemy to retreat. The battle raged on fiercely, with the 5 demonic sect Deadlists unable to gain even the slightest advantage. Metamorphosis. Bound by the power of the Deadliest, Jiang Chengxuan softly chanted. Immediately, an extraordinary wave of energy erupted from him, a purifying force spreading across 1,000 miles, dissipating the imprisoning power in an instant. Everything reset to the beginning. The 5 demonic sect Mahayana Deadlists' eyes twitched, feeling as if they were facing monsters. Fortunately, with the help of the demonic puppets, they had not yet faced utter defeat. But at that moment, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes narrowed, suddenly realizing something. Just as the purifying force spread 1,000 miles, he keenly sensed that the demonic puppets battling Qin Shenwu and the others in the distance seemed momentarily affected. A flash of insight struck him, a startling hypothesis taking shape in his mind. This realization made Jiang Chengxuan's heart race wildly. Perhaps the key to breaking the stalemate lay in that fleeting change. Suppress. In the next instant, Jiang Chengxuan struck out, unleashing terrifying Dao rule power. The demonic sect Deadlists dodged hastily, only to see the attack targeting a specific point in the void. Boom! With that strike, Dao rule power spread out, instantly sealing a portion of the heavens and earth. Simultaneously, beneath the area Jiang Chengxuan had sealed, several demonic puppets began to twist and then crack. Witnessing this, some cultivators sensed something significant. Impossible! Deadliest skeleton and other demonic sect Deadlists were thrown into disarray, a strong sense of unease gripping their hearts. In contrast, Jiang Chengxuan's face lit up with joy. This was the weakness of the demonic puppets. Without hesitation, he transmitted his voice across the battlefield. Everyone, isolate the area around the demonic puppets from the heavens and earth to prevent their resurrection. His words sent shockwaves through the cultivators' hearts. They recognized Jiang Chengxuan's voice and almost instinctively began to follow his revelation. Waves of energy erupted between heaven and earth, Dao rule power linking in the void, forming seals to isolate the heavens. For Dao integration cultivators, this was not a difficult task, though it was hard to believe this method could be effective. However, what happened next left them ecstatic. As the seals were established, the demonic puppets let out agonized screams, and those with fatal injuries began to crumble. This scene stunned both friend and foe. Even Deadliest All-Heaven and others showed signs of joy and surprise. It turned out that the demonic puppets, although able to draw some form of power from beyond, were rendered powerless when sealed from the heavens. This move cleverly leveraged the inherent power of the floodgate realm. Haha, so that's how it is. On the other battlefield, Qin Shenwu laughed loudly after witnessing everything. In an instant, he unleashed his vast Dap rule power, sealing an area of the heavens. Sure enough, the demonic puppet which had posed a formidable threat immediately weakened. Seizing the moment, Qin Shenwu's giant multicolored palm struck down, causing an explosion of power. This time, the demonic puppet's injuries did not recover mysteriously. The ability to revive had indeed been broken. In a flash, Deadliest All-Heaven, Deadliest Divine Shadow, and Deadliest Infinity imitated the technique, sealing areas of the heavens and launching ferocious attacks on the demonic puppets. One by one, the puppets suffered severe damage and retreated. Master Jiang, well done. We're saved, haha. Cries of relief echoed across the battlefield. The discovery of the demonic puppet's weakness revitalized the exhausted righteous cultivators, filling them with immense joy. On the other hand, the demonic sect was left in utter despair. No one could have foreseen the battle shifting so quickly. With Jiang Chengxuan's keen observation, the entire war had turned in their favor. Charge! In unison, the righteous cultivators unleashed their pent-up fury, overwhelming their enemies. The scales of victory tipped swiftly amidst the demonic puppets' screams. In the battlefield of the Mahayana Dailords, Qin Shenwu and others were invigorated, fighting with renewed vigor, decimating the demonic puppets in no time. Meanwhile, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan struck again, their Dao rule powers bearing down on the now hesitant demonic sect Dailords. Yet, Jiang Chengxuan couldn't shake the feeling that this war was far from over. With the loss of the demonic puppet's assistance, the demonic sect was utterly powerless to resist. Under the righteous cultivators' counterattack, they suffered heavy losses once again. On the battlefield, the Haoran sect's cultivators led the charge. Leng Yuehua wielded her sword energy tearing through the void for thousands of miles with unstoppable force. Zai Xiangyao unleashed her 5 elements illusion art, silently trapping demonic sect cultivators in deadly dreams, where they either perished or were slain by other cultivators. Zhang Anren also manifested the power of the 5 elements, her radiant light surging like a mighty river, suppressing everything in its path. Behind them, cultivators from various other sects showed no mercy, unleashing their Dao rule powers and divine abilities in a sweeping assault on the demonic sect. By now, the number of Dao integration cultivators who had fallen in this battle had reached hundreds, with lower-ranked demonic cultivators too numerous to count. The ground was littered with severed limbs and broken spiritual artifacts, the sight incredibly tragic. Blood flowed in the air, burning fiercely. Countless demonic puppets lay scattered like mounds of graves, exuding an ominous demonic aura. From a high vantage point, the scene resembled a plain of destruction, filled with death and desolation. This battle was the most brutal conflict the Floodgate realm had seen in millennia, and it was far from over. In the void above, Jiang Chengxuan stood alone, manifesting the Dao rule powers of life and death, the 5 elements and samsara. Wielding the golden void sword, he single-handedly fought multiple demonic sect Dailords. His divine light shone brilliantly, making him appear like a war god. With unmatched strength, he suppressed all the enemies before him. The 3 supreme Dao rules flowed seamlessly under Jiang Chengxuan's control, clashing fiercely with the Dao rules of Skeleton and Yellow Springs, causing terrifying phenomena. Stars from the outer heavens fell, shattered by the aftershocks, and space and time twisted under the might of the Mahayana Dailords' combat. The remaining demonic sect Dailords were in a dire state. With the demonic puppets nearly crippled, the Mahayana Dailords' battlefield descended into chaos. The demonic sect Dailords, caught between the demonic puppets and Qin Shenwu's forces, struggled to survive, narrowly avoiding encirclement. It was clear that at this rate, a decisive victory for the righteous side was only a matter of time. The demonic sect Dailords were already contemplating betraying their comrades to escape and never return. However, amidst this promising situation, Jiang Chengxuan still felt a sense of unease, as if something ominous was about to happen. "Everyone, I have a bad feeling. Stay alert, the demon immortal might have another trick up his sleeve," Jiang Chengxuan warned without hesitation. His words brought a grave expression to Qin Shenwu and the others, who nodded in understanding. They trusted Jiang Chengxuan's intuition. At that moment, Jiang Chengxuan's premonition came true. A series of ominous sounds echoed through the demonic sect's territory, as waves of energy surged from all directions like a tide. The sudden change startled everyone, causing them to halt and observe. Blinding lights burst from beneath the demonic sect's grounds, shooting towards the sky. From their high vantage point, Jiang Chengxuan and the others saw that the sites of the upheaval were where the formation flags of the sky-severing array were originally placed, including the remnants of the undestroyed flags. Eerie laughter echoed through the heavens, a sound unlike any man, woman, or beast, sending chills down everyone's spines. But amidst the strange happenings, the demonic sect Dailords and cultivators were overjoyed, their eyes burning with fervor. They knew this meant their leader was about to take action again. The atmosphere grew more sinister as the demonic energy intensified. Above the demonic sect's territory, the blood-red vortex grew denser and more formidable after absorbing the mysterious light, its presence terrifying even Jiang Chengxuan and his allies. Suddenly, the blood-red vortex radiated eerie light, beams of blood-red energy shooting down, crossing the void and striking the locations of the formation flags. In a moment of horror, immense and grotesque demon shadows erupted from the ground. The sudden emergence of these demon shadows, resembling ghosts, covered the sky and roamed through the dense demonic energy. Their eerie howls attacked the souls of countless cultivators, causing excruciating pain. In the pitch-black demonic energy, the righteous cultivators struggled to regroup. They could only watch as the demon shadows moved through the demonic energy, hearing only screams and the sounds of flesh being devoured. In mere moments, many cultivators perished, becoming nourishment for the demonic entities. These demon shadows were exceptionally cruel, attacking even the demonic sex cultivators, devouring anyone in their path. These entities, infused with an otherworldly power, absorbed or resisted Tao rule powers and divine abilities, restoring themselves quickly. Unlike the demonic puppets, they were not entirely immortal, but the method of sealing the heavens and earth was ineffective against them. Moreover, the situation grew more dire as the eerie light from the blood-red vortex continued. After awakening countless demon shadows, the light shifted its target, striking cultivators on the battlefield indiscriminately. Anyone unfortunate enough to be hit by this light would be consumed by a corrupting fire, losing their life in mere breaths. Even in death, the eerie light continued to transform their corpses, turning them into demonic puppets. This sight chilled everyone to the bone, as if they were in the depths of hell. This horrifying power, capable of instantly turning people into puppets, shifted the battlefield's dynamics once more. This time, neither the righteous cultivators nor the demonic sect had the upper hand. The true victors were the rampant demonic shadows. Amidst the chaos, cries of anguish echoed constantly as the demonic shadows ran rampant. Only the eerie laughter of the demon immortal persisted in the hellish landscape. "How is this possible? We clearly destroyed that array. How can this be happening?" Deadliest all heaven exclaimed, staring at the carnage below. In an instant, the situation, which had almost turned into a great victory, was reversed so thoroughly. "It must be that demon immortal forcibly activating the array," Jiang Chengxuan speculated with a grave expression. "It seems that the incomplete sky-severing array, though unable to bring his true spirit here, can still be used." This detail was not recorded in Immortal East River's Book of Arrays. Perhaps he had never used this array and thus hadn't studied it in depth. This gap in information put the righteous side in a desperate situation. "The demon immortal's rule is unstoppable. You fools are courting death, ha ha ha." The demonic sect Daelords, having gained a moment's respite, became arrogant again. They believed no one could stop such a method. The righteous side, they thought, was now merely an exhausted force. Although the demonic shadows also caused significant casualties among the demonic sex cultivators, they no longer cared. As long as they could obtain the demon immortal's promise and safely ascend to the immortal realm, they were willing to abandon everything in the floodgate realm. This was the ruthlessness of the Tao. "Daelord all heaven, Daelord divine shadow, go down and suppress the demonic shadows. Protect our people first," Jiang Chengxuan commanded after a moment of thought. "I will find a way to deal with everything here." Daelord all heaven and Daelord divine shadow nodded without hesitation and crossed the void to the battlefield below. Although the demonic shadows were strange, they were not a match for the Mahayana Daelords. This move would ensure the righteous side's losses did not continue to escalate. "Ruyan Shifu, you hold off the demonic sect Daelords here. I will go destroy the sky-severing array," Jiang Chengxuan said resolutely. Shen Ruyan, Qin Shenwu, and the other Daelords did not hesitate. They manifested their Tao rules and launched a powerful suppression attack. After the mystical heaven Tao array, everyone in the floodgate realm had no doubt about Jiang Chengxuan's mastery of arrays. In this desperate situation, they placed all their hopes on him. After all, it was thanks to him that they discovered the demon immortal and the demonic sex conspiracy and arrived in time to stop it. Otherwise, the sky-severing array would have been completed, summoning the demon immortal's true spirit and causing the floodgate realm to fall. The battlefield erupted in terrifying clashes once more. In the void above, Shen Ruyan, wrapped in the Tao of wind and wielding divine lightning of life and death, single-handedly fought Daelord's skeleton and phantom ghost with unmatched ferocity. Qin Shenwu also manifested the five elements Tao, his fists like stars, suppressing another Daelord. On the battlefield below, with Daelord all heaven and Daelord divine shadow's intervention, the situation quickly stabilized. Under the suppression of the two Mahayana Daelords, the demonic shadows could no longer rampage. Soon, some shadows were shattered by their power, easing the pressure on the other cultivators. The situation reached a temporary stalemate, but Jiang Chengxuan knew that if this continued, more unforeseen events would occur. He had to destroy the sky-severing array quickly. Without hesitation, he transformed into a beam of light and disappeared. With the recorded array locations and the introduction of the sky-severing array in Immortal East River's Book of Arrays, Jiang Chengxuan's mind quickly deduced all the layout points. In an instant, he tore through the void, appearing at an array site. Before him, the array flag burned with demonic flames, the demonic energy soaring, and the eerie light expanding, fully activated. Five-colored divine light go. The five-colored divine light behind Jiang Chengxuan surged, a streak of light shooting towards the array flag. Boom! Though the demonic energy resisted, it was insignificant against his power. Several array flags were easily destroyed. However, a sudden warning flashed in Jiang Chengxuan's mind. Suddenly, demonic energy surged, and from the ground below, a massive demonic claw reached out, attempting to tear Jiang Chengxuan apart. Clearly, the demon immortal had left a hidden threat at the array sites. The massive claw carried the terrifying power of a Mahayana Daylord and attacked from a treacherous angle. If successful, Jiang Chengxuan would be torn in half. Void Reversal Law Ring. In an instant, Jiang Chengxuan's mind was calm, showing no panic. As the claw approached, the power of void erupted from him. Instantly, everything around him was consumed by the void. The demonic claw let out a howl before being destroyed by Jiang Chengxuan in a single move. But despite this, Jiang Chengxuan showed little joy. The demonic sect, which had spent centuries setting up the sky-severing array, had countless array points. If each had such a hidden threat, it would be extremely challenging, even for him. Moreover, time was against them. He had to act quickly to prevent greater losses for the righteous side. No, I need a faster method, Jiang Chengxuan muttered deep in thought. With his understanding of arrays, he knew there was a way to quickly destroy this array. Suddenly, a flash of insight struck him. He took out Immortal East River's Book of Arrays and flipped to the page on the sky-severing array. Staring at its complex patterns, a bold idea formed in his mind: reverse the array. Using the principles of another's mountain to polish Jade, if he could trigger destruction from the array's core structure, he could inflict maximum damage with minimal effort. However, deducing a loophole in an immortal-grade array was incredibly difficult. Even Jiang Chengxuan was not entirely confident, but he did not back down. Sitting in the void, Jiang Chengxuan activated his 7-layer heaven divining power. In his mind, the array points of the sky-severing array appeared one by one. This was destined to be an extremely difficult task, almost impossible without his exceptional deductive abilities. But perhaps this was fate. In this moment, the glimmer of hope lay in Jiang Chengxuan's hands. In the world of deduction, Jiang Chengxuan focused entirely. The intricate sky-severing array underwent thousands of transformations in his mind. Time passed silently. While Jiang Chengxuan was deducing the sky-severing array, the situation on the battlefield became increasingly dire. In the void above, Shen Ruyan led the charge. Her mastery over the Tao of life and death suppressed a portion of the world, unleashing divine powers. Before her, Daylord Skeleton was scorched and battered. Massive bone avatars were severed by Shen Ruyan and fell into the territory of the demonic sect, forming a mountain of bones. As skeletons accumulated, avatars were gradually destroyed. Shen Ruyan's relentless assault made it increasingly difficult for him to withstand. Similarly, Qin Shenwu battled Daylord 5 Poisons. Both wielded powers related to the 5 elements, creating a fierce contest. However, Daylord 5 Poisons, having gained fame for over 10,000 years, was an aging powerhouse. In this intense clash, he was no match for Qin Shenwu, who was in his prime. Qin Shenwu's overwhelming 5 elements power shattered 5 Poisons' toxic domain, causing his withered face to contort with rage. This illustrated a key advantage of righteous cultivation. While demonic cultivation methods might offer quicker paths to power, the righteous path allowed for the emergence of numerous great cultivators over time. In contrast, the demonic path often saw a single individual occupy a high position, preventing others from reaching the peak. Just as the situation began to tilt in favor of Shen Ruyan and her allies, the demon immortal made another move. The blood-red vortex enveloping the demonic sect's territory radiated eerie light, and 5 indistinct luminous objects slowly descended. Upon closer inspection, these were 5 bizarre hearts, pulsating with demonic energy. Each pulse sent waves of energy through the air, exuding formidable power. In an instant, These 5 demonic hearts crossed the void and appeared above the heads of 5 demonic sect Daelords. With fervent eyes, the Daelords watched as the hearts shrank and dropped into their mouths. Thump, 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 thump. The demonic hearts' rhythmic beats echoed like war drums, causing Shen Ruyan and the others to retreat temporarily. An overwhelming aura burst from the 5 demonic sect Daelords, shaking the heavens. Ha ha ha, this is the power from beyond. I feel rejuvenated by 10,000 years. Demon immortal, I will remove these obstacles for you. Amidst the bottomless demonic energy, the crazed roars of Daelord 5 Poisons and others reverberated. In the next moment, the world trembled as an immense shockwave shattered the void. When the demonic energy dispersed, 5 towering figures emerged, stunning Shen Ruyan and her comrades. Having swallowed the demonic hearts, the demonic sect Daelords had grown tremendously in stature. Their once withered skin and bodies became muscular and dark as iron. Their manifested Tao rules now contained the same sinister energy as the demonic puppets, clearly infused with otherworldly power. You won't leave here alive, Daelord Skeleton snarled, his bone avatar coated with demonic shadows. The eerie shape now bore several demonic heads, exuding terror. As the clash resumed, all the demonic sect Daelords demonstrated terrifying strength. Daelord Phantom Ghost's Yellow Springs Tao transformed all its ghostly spirits into demonic shadows. Daelord 5 Poisons, Toxic Domain now contained chaotic and lethal otherworldly rules. In the first wave of combat, only Shen Ruyan maintained her dominance, summoning 2 giant thunder spirits of life and death to suppress Daelord Skeleton. The other righteous Daelords fell into a disadvantage. More alarmingly, even the battlefield below was affected by this sinister change. As the demonic hearts beat like war drums, the shadows from the sky-severing array began to devour each other. While Daelord All Heaven and Daelord Divine Shadow were busy suppressing the battlefield, 2 gigantic demonic shadows, their auras rivaling Mahayana Daelords, emerged from the constant mutual devouring. These shadows loomed over the battlefield, like ancient demon gods ready to consume everything. Seeing this, Daelord All Heaven and Daelord Divine Shadow unleashed their strongest divine abilities, attacking the shadows with all their might. Under relentless assaults, the void trembled and celestial bodies shattered. The 2 Daelords barely managed to suppress the mutated shadows. It's never-ending, all the righteous cultivators despaired. The demon immortals' method seemed inexhaustible, wearing them down and nearly breaking their spirits. Each wave of attacks seemed endless. As long as the sky-severing array remained, the demon immortal could continue to influence this world, making them difficult to resist. Yang Daeyu, we can only hope you succeed, Daelord All Heaven murmured. The power of the Mahayana Daelords alone could no longer determine the outcome of this war. They were merely pieces on a chessboard. To break the stalemate, they needed a force transcending this world, and Jiang Chengxuan was their only hope. Meanwhile, in the void where Jiang Chengxuan was located, layers of deducing power completely enveloped him. Dense energy flowed around him, connecting to his being. In the world of deduction, Jiang Chengxuan had already simulated millions of variations of the sky-severing array, gaining a deeper understanding of the array. Break for me? Suddenly, layers of deducing power erupted from Jiang Chengxuan, causing mysterious fluctuations in the void. With a powerful shout, 100 glowing points lit up around him, arranged in a mystical pattern. These were the key points for reversing the sky-severing array. Finally, I did it. Even Jiang Chengxuan, with his calm demeanor, felt a surge of excitement. Despite his exhaustion, the sense of achievement was overwhelming. Reversing the sky-severing array, an array transcending this world, was nothing short of a miracle. Despite his success, Jiang Chengxuan only felt a momentary relief. He quickly regained his composure and began circulating his energy to restore his state. The fluctuations from the battlefield indicated that something significant had occurred. Although he wasn't certain of the specifics, he sensed the demonic energy growing denser, undoubtedly due to another intervention by the demon immortal. The situation was far from optimistic. He still had 100 nodes to destroy. Even though his deductions had reduced the number of nodes by 100-fold, accomplishing this task was still no easy feat. Each node was guarded by a force comparable to a Mahayana cultivator. Jiang Chengxuan swiftly returned to peak condition. Without hesitation, he channeled his Tao rules, tearing open the void and stepping through. The scenery changed instantly as he emerged from the rift, facing another part of the sky-severing array. The array flags fluttered, and the dense demonic energy surged. Prepared, Jiang Chengxuan didn't hesitate. He summoned the five elements diagram, which transformed into the golden void sword with a burst of golden light. Infusing the sword with fierce Tao rules, the void trembled and shattered in the sword's path. But this strike wasn't aimed at the array flags, it targeted the ground below. A roar erupted, and an enormous demonic shadow burst from the ground, lunging at Jiang Chengxuan. The collision between them shook the demonic domain. Without giving the shadow a chance to breathe, Jiang Chengxuan flashed forward, enveloped in the power of black and white Tao rules, wielding the golden void sword. The sword's power surged, slicing through the void. Jiang Chengxuan's strikes were swift and numerous, cutting through the demonic shadow and the surrounding void in an instant. The demonic shadow managed only a final roar before being obliterated. With the demonic energy dissipating, Jiang Chengxuan immediately moved to the array flags. Instead of destroying them, he began to reverse their configuration. Channeling the power of the five elements, he focused on the element of earth. With a gesture, the ground seemed to lift, revealing the deeply rooted array flags. These flags, which required immense effort from a Tao integration cultivator to move, were like grains of sand in Jiang Chengxuan's hands. His growing power forced the interconnected flags apart, rendering them inert. However, this alone wouldn't disrupt the entire array. He arranged the flags on the ground and sat in the void, much like the demonic sect Daelords who had initially set them up. In mere moments, he deduced the necessary changes. With great force, he lifted the massive white flags, driving them into the precise points he had calculated. A hum resonated as mysterious waves spread through the void. The array flags trembled and reconnected, completing the node's reversal. One of the glowing points around Jiang Chengxuan dimmed, marking his progress. Without delay, he targeted the next node, slashing through the void with the golden void sword. Meanwhile, the main battlefield had fallen into chaos. Dense demonic energy shrouded the area, making visibility nearly impossible. The sounds of battle grew fainter as more Tao integration cultivators fell silent. Many lower-ranked cultivators, though not dead, were too injured to fight. They could only hide in the rear, consuming pills to heal. The brunt of the battle now rested on Daelord All-Heaven and Daelord Divine Shadow. The demonic sect was in a dire state, attacked by their own demonic shadows as well as the righteous cultivators. Despite their cries for help, the demonic sect Daelords in the sky ignored them. The demonic shadows, initially seen as an advantage, had become the final blow against the demonic sect's cultivators. Most of the demonic sect's Tao integration cultivators had fallen or been turned into puppets by the eerie light. This battle would mark the decline of the demonic sect. For millennia to come, no major demonic power would rise. Yet the demonic sect Daelords in the sky no longer cared. They believed themselves to be beyond the floodgate realm, aligned with the demon immortal. Their former bloodlines and legacies meant nothing to them now. Their newfound power, bolstered by otherworldly energy, was overwhelming. Each strike caused the heavens to tremble, suppressing Qin Shenwu and the other righteous Daelords. Their dominant and frenzied attacks were reminiscent of their past glories. "If not for my dwindling lifespan, you wouldn't stand a chance against me," one demonic sect Daelord sneered. "When I made my name, you didn't even know what cultivation was. A bunch of ants, daring to challenge the moon's brilliance." Their taunts echoed with every clash, venting their long-held grievances. "Qin Shenwu, today your Haoran sect will fall, just like my sacred skeleton sect," Daelord Skeleton roared, his terrifying demonic bone avatar attacking Qin Shenwu. The fall of the Haoran sect was a goal he had long awaited. Across the various battlefields, the righteous forces were being pushed to their limits by the demonic sect and the demonic shadows. Among them, only Shen Ruyan was still able to hold her own and provide some assistance to her comrades. Everyone knew that the end of this battle was drawing near. If Jiang Chengxuan couldn't break the sky-severing array soon, the righteous side would face a devastating defeat. Even if he managed to dismantle the array and suppress all the enemies, it would be futile if the high-level righteous cultivators were nearly all dead or wounded. The demon immortal would still loom over them, and the floodgate realm would be left defenseless against him. Thus, everyone fought with every ounce of their strength, willing to burn their essence blood if necessary, to fight to the death. Qin Shenwu and his comrades were no exception. Under the oppressive power of the demonic sect Daelords, they realized the critical moment had arrived. In an instant, they began burning their essence blood, forcibly elevating their power to another level. Boom! With resolute determination, terrifying power erupted from them, forcing the demonic sect Daelords to retreat. You old ghosts of the demonic sect, do you think relying on sinister methods will deceive yourselves and others? Qin Shenwu roared angrily at his enemies. Today, let's have a real fight. The other Mahayana Daelords beside him also had the same resolute expressions, ready for a fight to the death. The fierce power of the five elements Dao surged through the void, transforming and annihilating life in its path. Stars collapsed, and the void disintegrated under their assault. Daelord Infinity used a special technique to ignite his sword, causing the void to tremble. With a single slash, a heavenly river unfolded, dimming the sky and earth. The war had reached a point of no return, and every cultivator fought with such ferocity that they seemed ready to bite their enemies with their teeth if necessary. However, despite their valor and the seemingly endless demonic energy, the situation remained grim. Burning Essence blood was heroic, but it had its limits. Ha ha ha, this battle is ours. You will all die. A demonic sect Daelord burst out with power, sending Qin Shenwu and Daelord Infinity flying backward. The two men, though unwilling, knew the tide had turned against them. Facing the incoming Dao rules of Daelord's five poisons and skeleton, they prepared to resist with all they had. At that moment, a sharp, eerie sound pierced the air, followed by a strange wave spreading through the demonic sect's territory. This wave passed through the demonic sect Daelords, causing them to shiver with a deep sense of foreboding. It felt as though something was being torn apart and reversed. The demonic energy reacted first, as if being absorbed by an unseen force, rapidly contracting and dissipating into nothingness. This sudden change made all the cultivators feel a profound sense of relief, as if an invisible shackle had been removed. Roar! Without giving them time to think, another sharp wave erupted. This time, the massive demonic shadows began to twist bizarrely, as if being pulled from all directions. Their wails and roars of agony filled the air as their forms shrank. Finally, they were stretched thin, like rifts, and then exploded into dust. The scene was so sudden that even the saved righteous cultivators stood in stunned silence. It's Chengxuan. He must have succeeded. Qin Shenwu shouted joyfully, his voice echoing across the battlefield. Dear husband, Shen Ruyan murmured with a smile of relief. Her words snapped everyone out of their daze, hope returning to their faces. Jiang Chengxuan. Fellow Taoist Jiang, ha ha ha, Daelord all heaven, and the surviving cultivators cheered with newfound vigor. Their savior had not failed them. Amidst this joy, only Daelord's five poisons and the others looked pale and crazed. No, no, impossible. My power, my lifespan, no. The enhancements they had gained were fading, and the powerful demonic hearts stopped beating. Despair gripped them as the debilitating effects of the demonic hearts took hold. They hadn't known that this power, much like burning essence blood, came at a cost, fueled by a sinister life force that now abandoned them. Everyone, sorry to keep you waiting. A familiar figure, radiating powerful energy, emerged from the void. Jiang Chengxuan stepped out with a confident smile. In a race against time, he had reversed all 100 nodes of the sky-severing array just in time. As predicted, reversing the array caused it to collapse in on itself, pulling all its power back and shattering everything in its path, including the powerful demonic shadows. The power of an immortal grade array was undeniable. Dear husband, Chengxuan, fellow Taoist Jiang Chengxuan's arrival brought immense relief to everyone. With him, the pillar of the floodgate realm, present, they all felt secure. You've all waited long enough. There's not much time left, Jiang Chengxuan said, facing the five demonic sect Daelords with a calm smile. He knew the battle's outcome was now certain. Jiang Chengxuan's calm and indifferent smile appeared like the grin of a grim reaper in the eyes of Daelord Skeleton and his cohorts. Faced with this situation, they found themselves unable to utter a single word. Weakness, despair, and the impending doom were written all over their faces. They knew they were now trapped with no escape, regardless of what Jiang Chengxuan had done or how he had accomplished it. This chess game with the demon immortal had resulted in a decisive victory for the righteous side of the floodgate realm. At that moment, a sense of respect for their opponent unexpectedly arose within them. It seems the heavens have doomed us, one of the demonic sect Daelords remarked with a sudden sense of resignation. Despite being Mahayana Daelords, they were nothing more than chess pieces, and now that their mastermind had lost, they were powerless. No, it is you who defied the heavenly way and brought about your own destruction, Jiang Chengxuan responded sternly, his expression cold. He had resolved to annihilate the demonic sect entirely. Today, not a single demonic cultivator would leave alive, including the 5 Mahayana Dailords. Heavenly Way, cultivation itself is a rebellion against the heavens. What do you mean by defying it? One of the demonic sect Dailords, his face twisted with madness, roared defiantly. His words caused the onlookers to frown. In the next instant, the crazed Dailord pushed his Tao rules to its limits, causing countless terrifying phenomena. He's trying to self-destruct his Tao rules, Dailord All Heaven shouted, recognizing the mad act. But at that moment, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, perfectly in sync, struck simultaneously with their black and white Tao rules, immediately suppressing the twisted energy. The sight was chilling, and in the ensuing tug-of-war, the demonic sect Dailord's power shattered into nothingness, causing a massive explosion in the void. Signs of a Dailord's fall appeared in the heavens, visible across the floodgate realm. This shocking event marked the fall of the first Mahayana Dailord in thousands of years within the floodgate realm. A once mighty figure had fallen without mercy. "No, I don't want to die. It's you who should die." Dailord 5 Poisons, witnessing the gruesome spectacle, went mad, shouting in desperation. He bit his tongue, draining the last of his essence blood to manifest his Tao rules into 5 poisonous avatars. These avatars fled in different directions, trying to escape. But Dailord All Heaven and the others were prepared. Qin Shenwu, Dailord All Heaven, and Dailord Infinity each unleashed their divine powers, targeting the escaping avatars. The void shattered under their tremendous power, with chaotic energy surging forth. Amid the turmoil came the screams of Dailord 5 Poisons, who, drained of his essence blood, was as good as dead. Under their relentless pursuit, he was reduced to nothing but remnants in the void. Another sign of a Dailord's fall appeared in the heavens, evoking a sense of mourning among the cultivators. Dailord 5 Poisons, a relic of an ancient era, had met his end, marking the conclusion of an epic chapter in cultivation history. "Jiang Chengxuan, do you dare to fight me one-on-one?" Dailord Skeleton stepped forward, pointing at Jiang Chengxuan. He had accepted his defeat, but couldn't let go of his desire to conquer the Haoran sect and its leader. "Very well, I will fulfill your wish," Jiang Chengxuan replied, choosing not to insult his opponent further. He decided to grant him the final battle he sought. The onlookers stepped back, giving them space for the duel. "Bone refining heaven, bone refining earth, bone refining me," Dailord Skeleton shouted, unleashing his ultimate power. His bone Tao manifested in the world, transforming into a gigantic serpentine entity. With a crazed glint in his eyes, he directed this monstrous avatar to devour his own head, launching his final attack. The avatar, now infused with near-immortal power, surged towards Jiang Chengxuan. Jiang Chengxuan, unfazed, summoned his 5-colored divine light. In the void, a 5-colored divine lotus began to bloom. As the black and white Tao rules intertwined, 2 more divine lotuses formed, representing life and death. 7 divine lotuses. This was Jiang Chengxuan's most powerful divine power. The energy emanating from them caused the void to tremble, creating a realm of nothingness. As they collided with the bone Tao avatar, a blinding light enveloped everything. The spectators, unable to withstand the intensity, closed their eyes and sealed their senses. When they reopened their eyes, the broken remnants of the bone Tao and signs of a fallen Dailord were all that remained. The skies above the demonic sect's territory had been transformed into a void where no cultivator could survive. Dailord Skeleton had perished, his Tao shattered. The demonic sect now had only 2 Dailords left, Dailord Phantom Ghost and another. "Perhaps we can negotiate," Dailord Phantom Ghost began, but his words fell on deaf ears. No one was willing to listen. "At this point, you still harbor such wishful thinking." Another demonic sect Dailord sneered at Dailord Phantom Ghost's plea for mercy. "Failure is our destiny. We might as well die gloriously than live in hiding in the lower realms. It's a pity I won't see the sights of the immortal realm." In the silent gaze of Jiang Chengxuan and the others, this Dailord muttered to himself. He didn't truly worship the demon immortal, he was merely pursuing his own path. But once committed, there was no turning back. With their defeat sealed, only death awaited them. "Jiang Chengxuan, among all of us, you are the most likely to ascend to the immortal realm. So, you should be the one to send me on my way," he said calmly, accepting his fate. Though he faced death, his obsession with ascending to the immortal realm remained unshaken. Perhaps dying by Jiang Chengxuan's sword, leaving behind a wisp of his soul, would allow him to follow Jiang Chengxuan to the immortal realm in some form. Very well, as you wish, Jiang Chengxuan agreed without hesitation. These opponents, though they had caused much harm, were part of the cultivation world's harsh reality. Now, they would face judgment for their actions. With a flash of light, Jiang Chengxuan summoned the 5 elements diagram, which transformed into the golden void sword. This sword, sharp and swift, would ensure a clean end. Their gazes met for an instant, and Jiang Chengxuan struck without delay. The sword's sharpness sliced through the void, and with a flash of blinding light, the Daelord's head rolled to the ground. The heavens echoed with signs of his fall, and his essence dissipated into a wisp of black smoke. In the wake of these consecutive falls, the cultivators sensed a profound change in the world. The Mahayana Daelords, wielders of immense power, were part of the world's cycle. Their end would strengthen the floodgate realm, which was why the worlds will tolerated their existence. As their lives concluded, their power returned to the world, making it stronger. Now, Daelord Phantom Ghost, it's your turn, Daelord All Heaven said as they all turned their attention to the last remaining Daelord. His face was a mix of anger, sadness, resentment, and fear. Among the Daelords, he was the youngest and had the most life left. He was also the most cautious and timid. He had been coerced into the demon immortal's plan after being seriously injured in a previous battle with Jiang Chengxuan. He had no choice but to join when the demon immortal and other Daelords forced his hand. However, these reasons wouldn't save him. Jiang Chengxuan and the others had no reason to let him live. I don't want to die. I really don't want to die, Daelord Phantom Ghost shouted in despair, his voice echoing across the battlefield. Instead of giving up, he chose to fight to the death, unleashing all his Dao rules towards Jiang Chengxuan and the others. His Yellow Springs Dao turned the entire battlefield into a realm of ghosts, with countless ghastly spirits emerging. But for Jiang Chengxuan and his allies, this was merely the struggle of a cornered beast. They unleashed their own powers, systematically dismantling the Yellow Springs Dao. The ghostly spirits were obliterated, and Daelord Phantom Ghost was torn apart by their combined forces, his body reduced to a mist of blood. The heavens above turned a ghostly blue, casting an eerie light across the floodgate realm. It seemed as though countless spirits found peace, their souls finally resting. This was the end for Daelord Phantom Ghost, the culmination of his countless atrocities. It seems Daelord Phantom Ghost was indeed a scourge, Shen Ruyan remarked, sensing the change in the atmosphere. She had no sympathy for the Daelord who had once ambushed Jiang Chengxuan. Thus concluded the most epic war the floodgate realm had seen in millennia. This battle had drawn nearly all the realm's high-level cultivators, with numerous Mahayana Daelords participating. It was the culmination of centuries of planning by the demon immortal and the demonic sect, involving countless sacrifices and the use of near-immortal formations. Despite the odds, Jiang Chengxuan led the righteous forces to victory, completely eradicating the demonic sect. All the high-level demonic cultivators fell, including 5 Mahayana Daelords. From this day forward, the floodgate realm would know no more demonic forces. As the battle's abrupt end sank in, the surviving cultivators were left speechless. The cost had been tremendous, and even now they were still coming to terms with the horror of death they had faced. Everyone, we have won this battle. The demon immortal's schemes are not yet over, but we now know he can be defeated. Let's return and recover. I will ensure the spoils of this war are distributed to all sects, Jiang Chengxuan said, bringing them back to reality. With mixed emotions, the cultivators saluted their comrades and began to leave. Some, more enthusiastic, stayed behind to help Jiang Chengxuan and the others collect the spoils of war. The demonic sect's main base, nearby, held vast resources and treasures, enough to compensate for their losses. Jiang Chengxuan did not object. After checking on Jiang Anren and the others, he sent them to gather the loot. He and Shen Ruyan then bid farewell to the others and headed elsewhere. As they traversed the void, Jiang Chengxuan's thoughts turned to the information about the sky-severing array. The first thing Jiang Chengxuan thought about wasn't treasure, but rather the sky-severing array. This immortal-grade formation had played a decisive role in the war. Without it, the righteous side's victory would have been assured as soon as he and Shen Ruyan intervened. However, the sky-severing array had repeatedly shifted the balance, and if not for his mastery of the heavenly calculation technique and Daelord East River's record of unique arrays, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Even if they had won, the floodgate realm's vitality would have been utterly depleted. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's figures moved through the void, tearing through dimensional gates, quickly arriving at various nodes of the sky-severing array. At each location, Jiang Chengxuan used his deducing power and spiritual sense to fully comprehend the changes brought about by the array. He meticulously examined the enormous white array flags, recording their rules and spiritual power into jade slips with precise measurements. For Jiang Chengxuan, the entire sky-severing array was akin to a vast library, containing an abundance of information. Even details about the demon immortal behind it trickled into his understanding. This research took Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nearly 10 years, during which they meticulously documented every aspect of the sky-severing array. By this time, the territory of the demonic sect was devoid of life. All its resources had been plundered as war spoils and distributed among the participating sects. Years ago, Jiang Chengxuan had been invited to preside over the Floodgate Conference, but he had declined, absorbed in studying the sky-severing array. Instead, Shen Ruyan took on the role, demonstrating her prowess and earning recognition. As Jiang Chengxuan's partner, it was her first time stepping into the spotlight, revealing her talents and strength, which were on par with Jiang Chengxuan's own. "Let's go home to the Haoran sect," Jiang Chengxuan said with excitement, turning to Shen Ruyan. The sky-severing array that had once covered the demonic sect's territory had been completely dismantled, leaving no hidden dangers. Yet all its concealed information had been documented for future analysis. Understanding Jiang Chengxuan's joy, Shen Ruyan smiled and, with a wave of her hand, opened a void portal through which they both disappeared. Haoran Sect, Cloud Mist Peak. After the war against the demonic sect, the Haoran Sect solidified its position as the premier sect of the Floodgate realm. Cloud Mist Peak, where Jiang Chengxuan's residence was located, became a sacred site within the Haoran Sect, attracting countless visitors daily. However, the peak itself was off-limits, considered a forbidden area of the sect. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan returned without being noticed. Back at their familiar Cloud Mist Peak, they both felt a surge of emotions. Though times had changed, Cloud Mist Peak remained their eternal sanctuary. Outside Jiang Chengxuan's abode, numerous spirit beasts continued their vigilant guard. After a brief inspection, the two entered the cave. Eager to begin, Jiang Chengxuan summoned multiple jade slips, which piled up into a small mound. "I can't shake the feeling that the demon immortal's schemes are more complex than they seem. Was the demonic lair in the depths of the East Sea really just for placing puppets?" he pondered aloud, picking up a jade slip. Although the demonic sect had been eradicated, the mastermind remained elusive. Shen Ruyan nodded in agreement. "The great calamity might not end with this battle," she said, her voice filled with concern. Given their abilities, such intuitions were likely accurate, and this urgency drove Jiang Chengxuan. "Let's quickly examine this information and compare it with Immortal East River's records. We might uncover significant insights," Jiang Chengxuan suggested, revealing his true intent. Both the demon immortal and Immortal East River were figures from the immortal realm, and their information might overlap. For the next period, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan immersed themselves in analyzing and cross-referencing the gathered data. Gradually, a clearer picture of the demon immortal emerged. He was likely at least at the true immortal level, a figure only slightly below the Immortal East River. His origin seemed to be the dim radiance immortal domain, one of the most chaotic and complex regions among the 36 immortal domains. Moreover, this demon immortal seemed to excel in arrays and spiritual arts, as evidenced by his tactics. The sky-severing array was rare even in the immortal realm, usually possessed only by those deeply versed in arrays. It was mainly used to allow true spirits or similar entities to descend. This led Jiang Chengxuan to a chilling hypothesis. "Shen Ruyan, do you realize what this means?" he asked, his voice heavy with realization. Shen Ruyan nodded, her expression grave. "If your deduction is correct, then this outcome was inevitable." Jiang Chengxuan accepted the terrifying truth he had uncovered. Setting aside the jade slips, he gazed out through the stone walls, speaking softly to himself. "If the demon immortal truly excels in true spirit and spiritual arts, then during our battle with the demonic sect, he may have already split a part of his true spirit and infiltrated the floodgate realm." As he voiced this thought, a sense of foreboding surged within him, confirming his fears. The realization that the demon immortal's true spirit had infiltrated the lower realm sent a chill through both Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Their war to eradicate the demonic sect had been fought to prevent precisely this outcome. Yet now, all signs pointed to the demon immortal having succeeded in entering their world. Had all the resources and lives sacrificed merely delayed this event by a few decades, even Jiang Chengxuan felt a pang of helplessness. 10 years was more than enough for the demon immortal's true spirit to begin preparing for revival. It was only a matter of days before they might hear news of the true spirit manifesting in the world. Time had become incredibly urgent, and the gravity of the situation now surpassed that of the previous war against the demonic sect. "We must find the location of the demon immortal's true spirit," Jiang Chengxuan said after a moment of contemplation. Shen Ruyan nodded solemnly. Without hesitation, they set off once more for the former demonic sect territory. Through a portal in the void, the two appeared at the old battlefield. Now, only heaps of white bones and a pervasive aura of malevolence remained, testifying to the brutal past events. Jiang Chengxuan sat cross-legged in the void, focusing all his energy. Shen Ruyan stood by his side, guarding him. Using his memory from the past 10 years of exploration, he channeled his immense deducing power, probing every inch of the area. Recollecting all the information about the demon immortal, Jiang Chengxuan sensed a faint connection. With this link, any touch of the deducing power on a related entity would reveal its presence to him instantly. However, the result left him feeling a mix of emotions and a sense of disappointment. "What did you find, husband?" Shen Ruyan asked as Jiang Chengxuan emerged from his meditative state. "The demon immortal indeed has a fragment of his true spirit in this realm, but it has already left this place and is hiding somewhere unknown," Jiang Chengxuan replied slowly. Though they had anticipated this, it was still a troubling realization. It meant that the great calamity was drawing ever closer. Learning this now, Jiang Chengxuan was unsure whether it was good or bad news. "Let's go discuss this with Shifu," he said finally. They vanished into the void once more. Shenwu Peak. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan appeared on Shenwu Peak, where Qin Shenwu resided. Qin Shenwu sensed their arrival and came out to greet them. After exchanging pleasantries, they entered the main hall and sat down. Qin Shenwu quickly noticed the grave expressions on their faces and felt a sense of unease. "Chengxuan Ruyan, you look serious. Has something happened?" he asked. Given the urgency, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan didn't hold back, revealing the truth about the demon immortal's true spirit. The magnitude of this information left Qin Shenwu stunned. He sighed deeply, forced to accept the reality. "So, the demon immortal's true spirit has been hiding in the floodgate realm for 10 years and could awaken at any moment?" he asked, seeking confirmation. Jiang Chengxuan nodded affirmatively. "Alas, that means our war, though it destroyed the demonic sect, only delayed the great calamity by 10 years, Qin Shenwu lamented. The war had been one of the most perilous battles of his life, claiming the lives of 5 Mahayana Dailords. Despite the victory, the demon immortal's plan had still succeeded. "What do we do next?" Qin Shenwu asked, putting aside any false hopes and turning to Jiang Chengxuan for guidance. Although he was Jiang Chengxuan's master, he recognized that his disciple had surpassed him and was now the leader against the looming calamity. "The demon immortal's true spirit is hidden somewhere in the floodgate realm. Finding it would be like searching for a needle in a haystack," Jiang Chengxuan explained. Qin Shenwu agreed with this assessment. "The true spirit of a demon immortal is beyond what ordinary power can affect. I believe we only have one option left," Jiang Chengxuan said. Qin Shenwu had a hunch about what he meant. "Are you suggesting?" Qin Shenwu asked, knowing that what Jiang Chengxuan was referring to was the final resort of the floodgate realm. "Yes, to truly resolve this calamity, we must fully utilize the foundational treasures of each sect," Jiang Chengxuan confirmed. "We must call upon the immortal treasures that protect the sect's fortunes to combat the great calamity." Qin Shenwu's expression turned serious as he contemplated this. Every major sect in the floodgate realm, especially those with millennia of heritage, had treasures that safeguarded their fortunes. Sect treasures bound to their destinies could only be wielded with the consent of most members. Even as the leader of the Haoran sect, Jiang Chengxuan needed approval from 90% of its disciples and elders to use their treasure. These treasures were terrifyingly powerful because they harnessed the collective strength of an entire sect. However, they came with immense risks. Any damage or corruption to these treasures could have catastrophic effects on the sect's fortune. Using these treasures was a gamble. If they succeeded, they could avert the calamity. If they failed, the consequences would be dire. Since ancient times, the control of fortunes had never been certain. It was always subject to the whims of fate and the heavens. When Jiang Chengxuan spoke of the final resort, Qin Shenwu immediately understood what he meant. However, even he needed to ponder the decision deeply. Is there truly no other way? After a long silence, Qin Shenwu asked in a heavy tone. It was as much a question for Jiang Chengxuan as it was for himself. All right, then it's decided. We'll prepare to summon the immortal treasures. Qin Shenwu finally agreed without needing a response from Jiang Chengxuan. Indeed, there was no retreat left. If they wished to take the initiative and not be sitting ducks, this seemed the only option. Yes, Jiang Chengxuan nodded lightly, knowing that Qin Shenwu would support his decision. However, we need to inform the other sects about this, Jiang Chengxuan continued. I'll give them a month. After that, we'll convene a meeting to discuss this matter. With that, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan departed from Shenwu Peak. He needed to make the necessary preparations for summoning the immortal treasures. While the process might incite some panic, Jiang Chengxuan's current prestige in the Haoran sect made it a manageable task. The rise of the Haoran sect was closely tied to Jiang Chengxuan's own rise, and its fortune intertwined with his. As Jiang Chengxuan began making arrangements, letters were dispatched from the Haoran sect to various sects and factions. After the war against the demonic sect, other sects held great respect for the Haoran sect. The moment these letters arrived, the high-ranking members of each sect opened them simultaneously, digesting the urgent news within. In the grand halls of these sects, the sect leaders and daylords read the letters with shocked expressions, their minds reeling. The letters contained a simple yet devastating message. The demon immortal's true spirit had infiltrated the floodgate realm and could revive at any moment. These few words struck like a thunderclap, shattering their composure. Not only had the demon immortal not been stopped, but he had been stealthily advancing his plans. This sudden dreadful news was hard to accept. Yet these letters came from the Haoran sect and Jiang Chengxuan, names that commanded trust. Given the precedence, only a fool would doubt Jiang Chengxuan's words. To confirm, they reached out to other sects and soon found the information to be true. The only silver lining was Jiang Chengxuan's assurance that there was a solution. Despite the heavy toll taken by the Great War against the demonic sect and the resources exhausted in deploying the heavenly deduction formation, there was still a glimmer of hope. For a month, the sect leaders and daylords brooded over this, each suspecting what the solution might be. Time slipped by in an atmosphere of tense anticipation. The day of the meeting arrived, and familiar faces from various sects gathered once more. The meeting took place at the same site where the Haoran sect had previously set up the formation. Welcome, everyone, Jiang Chengxuan greeted as the last of the attendees arrived. I believe you all understand why we are here. The faces around him were somber. The urgency was palpable. One of the sect leaders stepped forward, bowing slightly before speaking. Sect Master Jiang, given the dire situation, I won't beat around the bush. What is the plan to deal with the demon immortal's true spirit? This echoed the sentiments of all present. Over the past month they had pondered this intensely, each forming a hypothesis. Now they sought confirmation. I believe many of you already suspect the solution, Jiang Chengxuan began. His words were met with knowing nods. To truly eliminate the demon immortal's threat, we must summon the immortal treasures that each of our sects uses to suppress our fortunes. Only by doing this can we seize the initiative. The room filled with understanding mixed with reluctance. This was the answer they had hoped not to hear. They had clung to the hope of a miracle, a solution that wouldn't involve such a heavy cost. But Jiang Chengxuan's words shattered that hope, grounding them in harsh reality. Sect Master Jiang, can we really not avoid this? The immortal treasures are not to be used lightly, one sect leader questioned, echoing the initial reluctance Qin Shenwu had expressed. No, it must be done. There is no other way, Jiang Chengxuan replied firmly, his resolute tone quelling any lingering doubts. The certainty in his voice left no room for argument. Seeing the resolve in Jiang Chengxuan, the attendees sighed collectively. They realized there was no turning back. One of the elders hesitated before suggesting, Sect Master Jiang, can we wait a few more years? Perhaps we can delay summoning the treasures until the situation becomes more dire. Jiang Chengxuan's expression remained serious. The demon immortal's cunning is well known to us all. If he were so easily defeated, we wouldn't be here today. Fortune is indeed precious, but time is even more so. Remember the war against the demonic sect. Had we waited for them to act before we did, the floodgate realm might have already fallen. His words brought everyone back to the harrowing memories of that battle. Each day they had delayed would have increased the difficulty. Each year would have spelled disaster. The room fell into a heavy silence, the weight of the decision pressing down on them. Finally, realizing the gravity of the situation, they nodded in unison. The reality was clear. To face the demon immortal's true spirit, they needed to summon their sect's immortal treasures, no matter the cost. Jiang Chengxuan's words resonated deeply with everyone present. They could not deny that their previous victory against the demonic sect had hinged on seizing the initiative. Clearly, the suggestion to wait for further signs before summoning the immortal treasure was dismissed by Jiang Chengxuan. The man who proposed waiting sighed, knowing he could not refute Jiang Chengxuan's logic. "Everyone, we must begin preparations to summon the immortal treasures immediately," Jiang Chengxuan urged, his voice breaking the silence. "Time is of the essence. Please make your decisions quickly." Amidst the quiet, Jiang Chengxuan's decisive tone stirred the room. The first to step forward and support him was once again from the same faction as before. "I agree with this plan. Each sect should summon their immortal treasure to suppress the calamity threatening the floodgate realm," declared Wan Shen Daelord, stepping forward and nodding at Jiang Chengxuan in affirmation. Jiang Chengxuan reciprocated the gesture with a nod of respect. "The Thunderclap Valley stands with the Haoran sect. We agree to summon our sect's immortal treasure," Shen Ruyan added, her cold voice steady as she stood beside Jiang Chengxuan. Since the war against the demonic sect, Shen Ruyan's status within Thunderclap Valley had risen significantly, nearly to that of the next sect leader. Her master, Yun Yizhen, had been both shocked and proud when she broke through to the Mahayana Daelord realm. Gathering the elders, Yun Yizhen had declared Shen Ruyan as the next sect leader, to be formally instated when the time was right. With Thunderclap Valley's agreement, two major sects had already pledged their support for Jiang Chengxuan's plan. The Divine Shadow Gate also agrees to summon our immortal treasure. The Infinite Sect agrees as well. Following these statements, other significant factions quickly voiced their support. For them, the potential loss of fortune was secondary to the immediate threat of the demon immortal's revival. Their situation mirrored the previous crisis, where smaller factions were the most desperate for a solution. "Very well," Jiang Chengxuan said, his voice filled with satisfaction as the last sect signaled its agreement. "Time is of the essence. Return to your sects and prepare to summon the immortal treasures." However, just as the sect leaders began to disperse, ready to implement the plan, the unthinkable happened. High above the floodgate realm, an eerie energy began to spread. Every cultivator present sensed it immediately. It felt as if an alien presence had intruded upon their world, distorting its very rules. All cultivators of the Tao fusion stage and above felt a strange sensation, as though something inside them was shifting uncomfortably. Simultaneously, they all looked to the sky. The entire world seemed to blur for a moment before countless thin, blood-red threads began to weave through the sky. But what truly struck fear into their hearts was the sudden appearance of a massive black sun rising slowly on the horizon. With each passing breath, the black sun climbed higher, casting a shadow that rapidly spread across half the floodgate realm. Entire regions fell under its ominous influence. The sight brought to mind a chilling prophecy. When the black sun rises, the great calamity shall descend upon the world. Jiang Chengxuan and the other Daelords exchanged grave looks. The familiar aura of the demon immortal was unmistakable. Somewhere in the floodgate realm, the demon immortal's true spirit was awakening, heralding the arrival of the great calamity. The sky above was now completely covered by the sinister blood threads. The entire floodgate realm seemed ensnared in a giant web, its natural laws twisted and distorted. Many cultivators of the fusion stage felt an unsettling noise in their minds, their energy reacting with repulsion. The calamity had only just begun, yet it was already exerting a negative influence on the cultivators of the floodgate realm. "Everyone, hurry back to your sects. Summon the immortal treasures before the calamity fully manifests." Jiang Chengxuan's voice boomed like a bell, snapping everyone out of their stupor. No one questioned Jiang Chengxuan's directive now. The earlier skeptic felt a flush of shame. The signs of the calamity were undeniable, and their prior hesitation seemed foolish. "Let's go. May we all stay safe," said one sect leader. And with that, the sect leaders bid Jiang Chengxuan farewell and departed swiftly, transforming into streaks of light that raced across the sky. As they traveled back to their respective sects, they saw shadows and phantom images forming in the void. ominous presences that hadn't yet manifested but hinted at the horrors to come. Once the calamity fully descended, it would be a scene of countless demonic shadows running rampant. "Let's go too," Jiang Chengxuan said to Shen Ruyan. Under his guidance, the preparations for summoning the immortal treasures of the Haoran sect in Thunderclap Valley were already complete. They only needed to return and initiate the process. "Yes," Shen Ruyan replied. The two tore through the void, entering a portal. As they traversed the space between realms, Jiang Chengxuan could feel the corruption spreading. The entire floodgate realm was descending into a demonic pit, with the demon immortal at its heart, silently awakening. Meanwhile, in the eastern seas of the floodgate realm, under the celestial calamity, all the creatures of the eastern sea had become extraordinarily bloodthirsty. Amidst the towering, terrifying waves, countless gigantic sea monsters roared towards the sky, their demonic energy surging. These creatures, usually hidden in the deep seas, had emerged on the surface, and upon sighting one another, engaged in brutal battles. Even the typically docile sea beasts now had bloodshot eyes, churning up storms in the ocean, intent on destroying everything. Amidst these bizarre phenomena, the cultivators from the sects around the eastern seas were filled with dread, watching as the sea turned crimson with blood. "The celestial calamity is upon us. What is happening in the eastern seas?" An elder from a long-standing superpower in the region muttered, his brows furrowed with worry. They knew that the true danger lay beneath the eastern seas, where an ancient barrier concealed unknown entities. Now, with the celestial calamity descending, the aura from that place was causing their hearts to tremble with fear. Deep beneath the eastern seas, at the site of an ancient barrier that had existed for millennia, strange phenomena were unfolding. The sounds of clang, clang, echoed through the endless depths, where immense chains writhed turbulently in the undercurrents. These chains, inscribed with seals, usually remained hidden within the waters, exerting their mysterious power. But now, for some unknown reason, these chains had surfaced, thrashing violently and unsettling the depths of the eastern seas. These chains were the reason countless sea beasts had been forced to the surface. Spanning countless miles, the chains bore seals that were gradually dimming as they trembled, causing the entire region's energy to grow increasingly chaotic. It was clear that the barrier formed by these chains was slowly breaking, and something dangerous was beginning to leak out. However, Jiang Chengxuan and his allies in the floodgate realm remained unaware of these developments. Back at the Haoran sect, in the central arena, under Jiang Chengxuan's command, all the disciples of the Haoran sect had gathered in this massive arena. Their expressions were solemn as they looked up at Jiang Chengxuan on the high platform, their gazes firm and resolute. The celestial calamity was imminent, a fact evident just by looking at the sky. They were well aware of the need to summon their sect's immortal treasure, as Jiang Chengxuan had instructed them. "With the celestial calamity upon us, living beings are in peril. The Haoran sect must not retreat," Jiang Chengxuan declared passionately from the platform, his voice resounding like thunder. "Therefore, I ask everyone here to lend your strength to summon our immortal treasure. Together, we will resist the great calamity." "With the strength of all beings, we shall resist the calamity," the disciples chanted back fervently. "Excellent. Now, close your eyes and recite the incantation silently, summoning the immortal treasure of the Haoran sect," Jiang Chengxuan instructed. At his command, every disciple closed their eyes, placing their hands on their foreheads, silently reciting the incantation he had given them. The entire Haoran sect fell into a serene stillness. As the disciples repeatedly recited the incantation in their hearts, something began to stir in the ethereal plane. On the platform, Jiang Chengxuan was also chanting, but rather than an incantation, it seemed more like he was reciting a scripture. The summoning incantation was not a fixed entity, but a series of symbols recorded in the sect's secret tomes, accessible only to the sect master. The disciples were chanting parts of this scripture, while Jiang Chengxuan recited the complete version, forming a mysterious connection between the parts and the whole. During this process, the sect's fortune was being mobilized, an event perceptible only to Jiang Chengxuan and Qin Shenwu. As Mahayana Dailords, they were the largest focal points of the Haoran sect's fortune. The ceremony continued for several days, the disciples remaining sincere and dedicated, seemingly unaware of the passage of time. Finally, Jiang Chengxuan sensed that the sect's fortune had been fully mobilized and was now surging. A wave of fortune energy enveloped the entire Haoran sect, resembling a divine dragon, vast and magnificent. At that moment, not only Jiang Chengxuan and Qin Shenwu, but also all the disciples sensed the presence of the fortune energy. It connected everyone in the sect, their fates intertwined. Under the protection of this fortune energy, even the effects of the celestial calamity on them became blurred. "Immortal treasure, come forth," Jiang Chengxuan called out, feeling the change in the fortune energy. Merging his senses with the sect's fortune, he directed it deep underground. The fortune energy, invisible and intangible, penetrated all barriers. After delving to unknown depths, Jiang Chengxuan finally reached the location of the legendary immortal treasure. Infusing it with the vast fortune energy, an extraordinary transformation ensued. A clear roar echoed through the void. Following this, beams of immortal light shot up from beneath the Haoran sect, piercing the sky and forming an invisible, towering pagoda that encompassed the entire area. This power was so profound that even Jiang Chengxuan was astonished. Under the illumination of the immortal light, the chaotic forces in the surrounding void began to subside. Even the darkness cast by the enormous black sun gradually receded. Weaker cultivators, who had been corroded by the darkness, began to awaken under the influence of the immortal light. Countless cultivators who lived in the same region as the Haoran sect were influenced by the celestial light. Sensing that the Haoran sect had initiated this celestial light, they gathered their families and moved as close to it as possible. At this moment, the effects of the celestial calamity had enveloped the entire floodgate realm, casting ominous shadows from the strange sky above. Everything and everyone covered by these shadows had their spiritual power drained, even their very life force. Many ordinary people and low-level cultivators, unaware of the events unfolding, silently perished in the darkness of the celestial calamity. However, within the Haoran sect, guided by the power of their sect's fortune, the immortal treasure that protected their sect finally revealed itself. It was a dragon-shaped seal, emanating countless rays of celestial light, its material both unique and otherworldly, straddling the line between the living and the dead, between reality and illusion. The Haoran dragon seal, Jiang Chengxuan murmured its name as he held the immortal treasure. Although it was an immortal treasure, Jiang Chengxuan felt no destructive power from it. Like the many members of the Haoran sect, he sensed only a profound peace and an intimate connection. This was not a weapon of offense, its purpose was to protect and preserve. Jiang Chengxuan could clearly sense that the entire causality of the Haoran sect was linked to it, like a heart sustaining the sect. Using the mysterious power of fortune, it safeguarded the entity known as the Haoran sect. Meanwhile, similar ceremonies to summon immortal treasures were being conducted across the floodgate realm, within the various sects. As countless disciples prayed and invoked their sects' fortunes, the immortal treasures of each sect began to manifest. As the immortal treasures appeared, they instinctively sensed the vile energy brought by the celestial calamity, and almost reflexively, emitted vast amounts of celestial light to combat the eerie darkness in the sky. In the Pantheon sect, before Lord Pantheon and countless disciples, a golden ethereal light floated, radiating a brilliant celestial light that pierced the sky, dispelling the surrounding darkness and creating a sanctuary. Under this light, Lord Pantheon and others felt a sense of peace and relief as the corrupting force slowly receded. In Thunderclap Valley, before Yun Yizhen and the gathered disciples, a branch of lightning floated, blooming with multicolored flowers, emanating celestial light that shot towards the sky, banishing the darkness and corruption from Thunderclap Valley. In the Infinite Sky sect, an orb of yin-yang energy hovered before Lord Infinite and the disciples, rotating and emitting invisible waves that dispelled the endless darkness, illuminating the surroundings. One by one, the immortal treasures of each sect emerged, creating sanctuaries within the floodgate realm, engulfed in an eerie darkness. Many loose cultivators and ordinary people, influenced by the celestial light, instinctively moved towards these sanctuaries, finding refuge and escaping death. Jiang Chengxuan's proposal to summon the immortal treasures had, in an intangible yet crucial way, saved many lives across the floodgate realm. At the very onset of the celestial calamity, the timing was critical. If the summoning of the immortal treasures had been delayed even a few more days, more than half of the realm's population could have succumbed to the darkness. Such a dire outcome would have led to a prolonged period of recovery for the realm. Realizing this, many sects gained newfound respect for Jiang Chengxuan. His plan had essentially granted the floodgate realm a vital respite. However, the power of the immortal treasures alone was insufficient to dispel all the darkness. Though they could barely halt the calamity's progression by resonating with one another, the sect's fortunes couldn't sustain indefinitely. Moreover, somewhere within the floodgate realm, the true threat still lurked, the awakening true spirit of the demon immortal. But in a desolate, ruined kingdom within the floodgate realm, darkness surged through the vast ruins. Corpses, grotesquely twisted, lay withered and dry. On a high platform, a shadowy figure stood with outstretched arms, bathing in the descending shadows. These shadows had originally destroyed this kingdom, but now they appeared compliant around this figure. When the celestial calamity descended, the floodgate realm was shrouded by the black sun, and its first shadow fell upon this place. In an instant, countless mortals mutated into ghoul-like beings, rampaging through the city. Soon, even the cultivators fell to the same fate, turning on each other until the last one perished in utter brutality. At that moment, the city's blood gathered, merging with the descending shadow, forming this humanoid figure, absorbing all the violence and savagery. Cackle floodgate realm, you cannot escape my grasp. Bathing in the black sun's shadow, his power grew with each passing moment, or rather, it was being restored. Undoubtedly, this was the mastermind behind the celestial calamity, the true spirit of the demon immortal. On the day the demonic sect was destroyed, he had forcibly inserted a sliver of his true spirit into this world. Unnoticed in a hidden corner, he absorbed all manner of vile energies, awaiting the day the celestial calamity began. Now, supported by the power of the black sun, he no longer needed to hide, able to grow unimpeded. HMPH, it's that brat's doing again, the demon immortal muttered, glaring at the beams of celestial light piercing the sky. The day Jiang Chengxuan reversed the celestial array, the demon immortal had taken note of him. Now, the quick response of the floodgate realm, preventing him from absorbing more power, was surely orchestrated by that same person. Originally, it would have been easy for him to corrupt the entire floodgate realm, but Jiang Chengxuan's actions had delayed his plans. As a mighty being of the universe, a demon immortal, he knew this was no coincidence. Perhaps Jiang Chengxuan was the nemesis the floodgate realm had conjured to oppose him, the chosen one of this realm. But that just makes things more interesting, doesn't it? Cackle, the demon immortal laughed, descending from the ruins, crushing dried skulls beneath his feet as he vanished into the darkness. With the various sects, immortal treasures suppressing the calamity, the situation had somewhat stabilized. However, there was no trace of relief on Jiang Chengxuan's face. Ever since the celestial calamity began, an inexplicable sense of urgency had been gnawing at him. It was as if the heavens were warning him that the emergence of the immortal treasures had not changed the ultimate outcome of the celestial calamity. If they did not take further action, the destruction of the floodgate realm would remain unavoidable. Immediately, Jiang Chengxuan shared this insight with Qin Shenwu and the others. At this moment within the Shenwu Hall, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan and Qin Shenwu all wore grave expressions. Jiang Chengxuan's revelation made it clear that the celestial calamity had not yet seen a turning point. Chengxuan, do you have any suggestions? No matter what they are, I believe all the sects will support them now, Qin Shenwu said earnestly. Indeed, my husband, you are not alone in this. The entire floodgate realm is your strength, Shen Ruyan added, reminding him that the celestial calamity was not a problem to be faced alone. I believe our only option now is to recreate the mysterious heavenly Tao array to conduct a divination and find a solution, Jiang Chengxuan proposed after some contemplation. But the mysterious heavenly Tao array requires 100 years to construct. Given our current situation, Qin Shenwu responded, his brows furrowed in concern. After deciphering the heaven-severing celestial array, I have a method to create a smaller version of the mysterious heavenly Tao array. However, I will still need the support and resources from all the sects, Jiang Chengxuan explained, offering a glimmer of hope. Great, what are we waiting for? I will contact the other sects immediately and gather the necessary resources as quickly as possible, Qin Shenwu said with renewed determination, standing up with resolve. Soon, messages bearing Qin Shenwu's name were dispatched from the Haoran sect, reaching the leaders of the various sects. This time, the unity among the sects exceeded Jiang Chengxuan's expectations. The day after the messages were sent, replies began to arrive. Within 7 days, all the materials listed by Jiang Chengxuan had been gathered. These resources, sourced from all corners of the floodgate realm, had been collected with remarkable speed, demonstrating the unprecedented coordination among the sects. Even Jiang Chengxuan, with his resolute mindset, was astounded by the sight of the countless storage rings before him. The looming calamity had driven the sects to put aside all grudges and fully commit to overcoming the disaster. Since they've shown such dedication, I must not disappoint them, Jiang Chengxuan murmured to Shen Ruyan, his resolve rekindled. The scene of unity and determination deeply moved him, reigniting the fire within his heart. After enduring numerous setbacks, Jiang Chengxuan's determination was once again aflame. Back at the Haoran sect's array site, Jiang Chengxuan brought the resources and treasures provided by the sects. The site, still imbued with residual energies from the previous heavenly tribulation that had shattered the mysterious heavenly Tao array, was the optimal location for setting up the new array. With the manifestation of his 5 elements Tao, Jiang Chengxuan began constructing a high platform. He meticulously processed the resources, inscribing array runes on some, grinding others into powder, and combining them into various materials with practiced skill. As his hands danced through the air, the materials were swiftly prepared and embedded according to specific array patterns. This version of the mysterious heavenly Tao array had been modified by Jiang Chengxuan, requiring far less time to construct. Utilizing the remnants of the previous array, he completed a smaller version of the mysterious heavenly Tao array within a few days. The information gleaned from the heaven-severing celestial array had proven invaluable, elevating Jiang Chengxuan's mastery of arrays to an unprecedented level. However, there was no time to dwell on this now. Clearing his mind of distractions, Jiang Chengxuan sat cross-legged at the center of the array and activated it without hesitation. Instantly, countless threads of divination power rose from the array, pulling strands of fate and destiny into its web. Jiang Chengxuan's consciousness entered the realm of divination, but before him, a dense fog of uncertainty still obstructed the paths of cause and effect. It was clear that even with the augmented power of the smaller mysterious heavenly Tao array, the celestial calamity remained impenetrable. Yet Jiang Chengxuan had anticipated this. Under Shen Ruyan's vigilant watch, a half-ethereal, half-solid orb materialized in Jiang Chengxuan's hand, which then merged into his body in a flash of radiant light. In an instant, an overwhelming surge of divination power erupted within him, unrelenting and vast. The orb he had absorbed was the divination orb, a reward from the system, now unleashing its formidable power. Under the dominion of the divination orb, the divination power became a sharp, invisible blade, slicing through the obscuring fog of fate and revealing the hidden truths beyond. Boom! An influx of countless images surged into Jiang Chengxuan's mind like a tidal wave. He saw a blood-red sea, with massive waves crashing and colossal sea beasts fighting, their corpses piling up like small islands. He saw the depths of the eastern sea growing darker and more chaotic under the shadow of the black sun. In the unseen depths, something was resonating, stirring the entire eastern sea into unrest. Not enough, break through for me, Jiang Chengxuan roared internally, channeling all his divination power to shatter the remaining darkness and confusion. The hidden truths finally revealed themselves. Gigantic chains, larger than abysses, swayed and clashed within the chaos, producing terrifying reverberations. These chains, inscribed with fading seals, were the source of the deep, mysterious energy leaking from the seabed. No one knew what lay beneath, but Jiang Chengxuan realized that whatever it was, it posed a threat potentially more dangerous than the celestial calamity itself. The seal beneath the eastern sea had existed since time immemorial. Even the local forces that had lived there for generations couldn't fathom what lay beneath. The method of creating such a massive chain-formed seal was ancient. Even Jiang Chengxuan had only come across it in ancient texts, stating that such sealing techniques were used by ancient cultivators from tens of thousands of years ago. This indicated that the seal beneath the eastern sea might be a relic from the last great celestial calamity. Because of this, no one knew its secrets, as those who did might have perished in that calamity. We must reinforce the seal under the eastern sea. We cannot let it truly shatter. This conclusion arose within Jiang Chengxuan's mind. Subsequently, scenes of anomalies in the eastern sea flashed before his eyes. Following intense tremors and explosions, the world of divination collapsed, and his consciousness instantly returned to his physical body. Boom! Under the powerful backlash of fate, the smaller, mysterious heavenly Tao array couldn't avoid being shattered once again. The precious materials and treasures collected by the combined efforts of the sects were all turned to dust, dispersing in the wind. The demand for resources during the calamity period was horrifying, with centuries of accumulated precious items consumed in just a few years. If it weren't for the united efforts of all sects, it would have been impossible to gather such resources with just a few sects. "How are you, my husband?" Seeing Jiang Chengxuan stand up, Shen Ruyan gracefully approached him. Forcing a smile, Jiang Chengxuan recounted everything he had seen in the divination. Upon hearing this, Shen Ruyan revealed a tranquil smile and said, "So, we now have a target, my husband. This time it's all on you." Her words clearly carried a comforting intent for Jiang Chengxuan. Ever since the celestial calamity showed its signs, Jiang Chengxuan hadn't had a moment of relaxation. Shen Ruyan had noticed this and chose to stay quietly by his side, never showing any signs of anxiety. "Wife." Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan felt warmth in his heart. Despite the looming celestial calamity, his side was never dark. It was Shen Ruyan's companionship and the trust from his allies that kept him going. "All right, let's inform the sects and head to the Eastern Sea. I want to see what's really going on beneath the Eastern Sea." Soon, Jiang Chengxuan's message was conveyed to the sects, detailing everything he had deduced from the smaller mysterious heavenly Tao array. The message provided the first real insight into the true nature of the Eastern Sea Seal and the impending crisis there. Upon learning about the instability of the Eastern Sea Seal, the sect leaders all wore solemn expressions. They understood the gravity of the situation and knew they had to head to the Eastern Sea immediately. Within the Haoran sect, before the Haoran Dragon Seal, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Qin Shenwu stood with their hands behind their backs. Behind them were the elders of the Haoran sect, all of whom were above the Tao integration stage. This gathering signified the preparation for a full-scale war. Jiang Chengxuan's message to the sects stated that the movement of the Haoran sect's celestial light would signal the assembly to depart for the Eastern Sea. At this moment, the Haoran Dragon Seal was continuously emitting grand celestial light, maintaining a sanctuary of purity. However, if they were to head to the Eastern Sea, they could not do so without the power of the immortal treasure. They had to give their all to ensure the seal beneath the Eastern Sea remained intact. Fortunately, the immortal treasure that protected the sect's fortune was mystically linked to the power of fortune. Even if Jiang Chengxuan took the Haoran Dragon Seal with him, it would leave a shadow behind, maintaining the stability of the fortune and suppressing the darkness. "Let's go." With a solemn nod, Jiang Chengxuan reached out to grasp the Haoran Dragon Seal. Instantly, an immense and mysterious power flowed into him, emitting layers of celestial light, making him appear as if surrounded by a divine aura. Simultaneously, the celestial light pillar that connected to the heavens shifted, aligning itself above Jiang Chengxuan. Rumble. Within a few breaths, the celestial lights from various locations within the floodgate realm began to move in unison. Numerous grand celestial lights formed trajectories in the sky, dispelling the darkness and casting multicolored glows across the land. The scene was breathtaking, indicating that this might be the floodgate realm's last line of defense against the celestial calamity. Should these celestial lights fail to bring victory, the scattering of these lights would signify the floodgate realm's descent into complete destruction. Hummim. Ripples spread through the heavens and earth, and waves of extraordinary celestial light began to oscillate. Using the power of the immortal treasure, Jiang Chengxuan enveloped Shen Ruyan, Qin Shenwu, and the Haoran sect's members. In an instant, a celestial light shot out from beneath him, extending into the sky, forming a path leading directly to the Eastern Sea. Following suit, other sects also created magnificent celestial light pathways, appearing as countless rainbows in the sky. "Let's go." With a unified call, sect members cloaked in celestial light stepped onto these pathways, rapidly heading toward the Eastern Sea. Countless cultivators of the floodgate realm watched in anticipation, silently praying for these warriors to bring hope. But on their way to the Eastern Sea, Jiang Chengxuan and others soon gathered together. The familiar figures from the battle against the demonic sect reappeared, their faces filled with determination. "Lord Jiang," Taoist Jiang. Greeting each other with heavy expressions, they refrained from speaking further, silently focusing on the path ahead. The celestial calamity had twisted the space of the floodgate realm, making it seem like an alien world. Without the power of the immortal treasures, reaching the Eastern Sea would be a formidable task. Roar! As they moved farther from their respective sects, faint roars echoed through the void. Malignant energy suddenly surged within the celestial light, spreading like blood-red threads. One after another, demonic shadows emerged from within, lunging at them. You court death. In an instant, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes flashed with cold light, and he unleashed his power to strike back.